human mind doesn't wake up in the morning thinking this is its last day on Earth.
Conditional surrender, saying enrichment would have to stop. We heard from negotiations in Europe that was not being...
But I think that's a luxury, not a curse. To know you're close to the end is a kind of freedom. Good time to take inventory.
And now word from President Donald Trump that these attacks have happened. Again, interesting that 3 sites have been struck by U.S. bombers. And this, again, will get...
They will remember us.
And what bombs were used. We expect that...
Out of all our vast array of nightmares, this is the one we choose for ourselves. We go forward like a breath exhaled from the earth, with vigor in our hearts and one goal in sight.
That has been said to be the site of a lot of the enrichment capability. Esfahan, believed to be a storage facility for enriched uranium, and Natanz, another part of the nuclear facilities. They have several throughout Iran. It has been long described as a very difficult and tedious effort to go after.
History is written by the victor.
Launching an attack.
Because all you need to change the world is one good lie and a river of blood.
Israelis inside Iran as this back and forth following between Israel and Iran has continued for some 2 weeks. We expect to hear more about this operation from the White House, although the White House this evening has called a lid.
This is for the record.
After that may be changing now. Obviously, we have this Truth Social post from President Donald Trump.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday night tonight. I am joined with Marlon, and he reached out to me a few days ago just to kind of get right into it to talk about the lead and steel situation that kind of happened about a year and a half ago. But before we kind of dial it back and give the ground rules, why don't you go ahead and thank you for coming on, sir, and how's your night going?
Hey, nice, great. It's been it's a very nice day here in North Carolina. I'm Marlon Jonar. I sew for my company Stratagem Branch. I just started a kind of a YouTube channel slash Instagram page with my friend Zach. We call it Op Rod Kids. So we focus on piston powered firearms, optics. I work for Ballistic Research and Machine. We make silencers here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And before all that, I was in the Marine Corps for 11 years. Yeah, I don't think I could see any chat or anything like that. So if anyone has any questions for me or something, just call it to my attention and I can hit like a separate
Yeah,
tab
I can actually
review.
pull up chat for you specifically. I'm not sure how it works on mobile. It might be a little bit different, but I did find your YouTube channel and I'm actually going to pin this in the chat so that people can
Okay.
see it. Click on it. So that's going to go direct to your YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and then for the chat, it's like a separate tab, so it covers up like I can't see you when I
Oh,
have it
right.
up.
Yeah, you can't see both at the same time. Yeah.
So if someone's like, hey, you really need to address this, yeah, just I don't ignore people,
Right.
unless it's like a wall of spam or something, you know.
Right. Yeah. That which happens a lot. My chat can be a little bit aggressive, a little bit angsty, so it might be best that they're not, that you can't see them at all, because sometimes again they are a little wild. Now this.
Oh, sorry. One more thing.
No, go for it.
Just so people understand what my position in relationship to lead and steel. So I got introduced to lead and steel a little more than half a year ago. So I was at an event called Appalachian Range Day. They were one of the vendors there, but they were positioned at on the firing line. So I was in the bazaar of all the other vendors with like soft goods or surplus, a number of things that was like under a covered area. And towards the end of the evening, I got some rounds off with my friend, and we started talking with the lead and steel guy who's breaking down. His name's Zach, really good dude. He's a Marine Reserve officer. Was very impressed by him. We ended up talking. It felt like at least for 2 or 3 hours. So I was like, okay. And he showed us as well as their optics at night. So that was cool to see, because I just didn't understand like what really stood out. And then separately, I became friends with the CEO because he was trying to reach someone that I'm connected to, and I just kind of acted as like a, how do you say, like a, hey, like I need to make sure I know who you are before you continue on to talk to this guy. And yeah, we've just been good friends, and I mean, I learned stuff about him every day. Like, I didn't realize Lead and Steel had like actually, besides promotional content on their YouTube, He has got the fucking best scar video on on YouTube, and I only saw that the other day.
Oh, really?
So
Heather
yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
pulled up. Well, so
So
Hop, thank you very much for
hey,
hopping
Hop,
on. No pun intended, good sir. I know that we
no.
interrupted your baked potato feast to be here.
That's all right.
Let
Poverty
me
cuisine is the best cuisine, in my opinion.
Oh, but
eating like
just
it's
to quickly wrap that up, I'm
Mhm.
not an employee. I'm a good friend of theirs. They do send me optics, but there's no like. I'm not here to represent them. I'm here to defend their reputation and, of course, my friend.
Okay. So I just want to bring it back to this. So this kind of kicked off after Hop put up the video on the Nova group, which is choosing which 2A companies to support, where he made some comments kind of offhandedly about lead and steel throughout that video. I think that's when this started, specifically when you reached out to me and I believe to Hop as well for this. So just to back up a little bit, you've known Lead and Steel, Ahmad, 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
perfect.
accurate.
Yeah. Well, Hop, I don't know if you have anything you wanna say before we just kind of dive into the disagreements, I suppose.
I mean, I think he basically already ruined it immediately. He said he's friends with the CEO. He said they sent him free stuff. So it's already over, in my opinion. No offense.
Okay. So, well, let's start with you, Marlon.
To go a little bit more into that, I think this is the problem that I have often had with Lead and Steel is that you are not approaching this from a perspective of this is an innovative product that really needs to be talked about. It's more about a friendship thing. I think I see the same thing with In-Range TV. Like, again, I understand being friends with people. But
let's have this conversation first before you end it, right? Off the rip. You might be surprised. I mean, you should arrive here open-minded. I would hope you arrive here.
No, I'm sorry. This is a company that white labels products. There are millions of them. There are so many of them. The reason that you're running interference for this company, I think you've already admitted it, is because you're friends with the CEO. I think the same thing has been happening with In-Range TV. They have admitted that they have had friendly conversations with this company. They have made a friendship with this company. And so I understand it. It's extremely difficult to put aside personal relationships. That's why, for example, one of my good personal friends, Dane of Munition Works, I can't genuinely talk about his products because he's a very dear friend of mine. I love him. I love his products, whatever. But it's too late for me now because now we are friends. And I think that is something that happens all the time in this industry, whether you want to or not. I've felt this happening to myself as I've gotten more access to this industry. I've met more and more people from companies where it's like, I would love to be critical of this company, but I've met the people behind this company and they're good, genuine people. And now it feels difficult for me to criticize this company, even though I don't have even a financial relationship at all with these companies. Maybe they don't even send me product. Maybe there's not even that relationship. You have that plus the friendship. It's almost impossible to overcome that. That's a mental block. I understand that. It's fucking difficult. I've never really given a shit about Smith & Wesson. I started meeting people from Smith & Wesson, going to Smith & Wesson events, and I'm like, man, these people are really fucking awesome. Now it's hard for me to say bad things about them. I understand that happens. It happens all the time. It happens to all of us. Same thing has happened to In-Range TV.
But let's talk about some of the things you are saying, though, that are not correct. I think that's kind of my concern.
Well, can I hop in? Because that just to start off, what specifically was the reason for reaching out to Hop and myself from that video that Hop put out the other day, or the Nova group put out the other day? What kicked it off?
So for you, John, specifically, the belief that you were approached with a bribe.
Okay, so that's going back to almost a year and a half now.
Yeah, from your old video. That video is old but new to me. I didn't even know about that until more recently, and I was like, dude, because I think on our sidebar I explained I think there's a cultural misunderstanding, and I can explain it for the audience here in a minute. But then for Hop, I saw that video you did with just kind of something along the lines of which companies to support 2A, something like that. And my protest to that is not even necessarily about the merits of a very good lineup of optics that I've I mean, you can deny it
that's
on
low
your
information.
But
they're just optics, brother. You got it. You have to start from somewhere
you're
better than
absolutely
that.
right, and I love that you mentioned that. They are just optics, and this is what kind of my beef is with your video, is that, all right, because you guys have the gamer headsets, you'll probably understand a way that I can like kind of illustrate this is, let's think about our cause, the Second Amendment, as like us playing StarCraft
That's a bullshit
every day of our
show,
life.
man. We're not doing that.
Let me continue, and then you can, let me continue. So we
You're
wake
coming
up.
at this extremely sideways, man.
Can I talk?
You can. You're
Go
not
ahead,
very
sir.
good at it.
Okay, thank you. So we're playing this game of StarCraft, right? And we've got the Space Marines here, the laboratories, the what do you call it? The things that produce the tanks, the factories, whatever, right? Like all these little things. And we're going up against a bunch of different opposing forces. It's not just one alien race, it's a group here, it's a political movement over here. So we're dealing with a lot, right? As we're all, I'm going to assume us three and most of the people that might be viewing this are very Second Amendment protective individuals, right? We care a lot about that. So in that whole encampment of ours, of the human race that wants to protect the Second Amendment that I'm illustrating, again, we got our Space Marines, we got John with his welder just doing some badass shit. And then Hop, you're kind of going around a camp and you're like, yeah, I don't like their blasters because Rheinmetall made them. And then like the Rheinmetall guy slept with the CEO of this person's wife and blah, blah, blah drama. And it's like, dude, we need to get as many good optics and rifles out to the boys as possible, because the more we continue into the really just indefinite time, but understanding that time is elapsing and we're just continuing forward, there's going to be a lot of obstacles and things that we cannot handle if we're not united. And I feel like making videos that kind of pick and choose what is the ideal Second Amendment company is very it detracts from what we're doing. It's not it's a tactical error. It's not smart. Why would you offer your enemy the chance to sow division amongst your own ranks? And I think you do that very openly and callously. You state false information. You said he's Turkish. He's not. I mean,
That's a common error. It's already corrected.
that's not
in
a
the comments
common
of that
error.
video.
You could have corrected in the comments. How about you make a video and say, "Hey, I got this wrong. I completely,
Check the pinned comments of the video.
Make a video about it, man. That's a pretty large claim. I think that deserves more than a pinned comment. But not to get on the whole Turkish thing, because that's the small thing. I think.
So can I just kind of summarize that argument is basically, hey guys, we're all pro 2A, so why go after pro 2A companies, because we risk losing the whole thing, basically. Is that kind of the line of thinking there?
Yeah, absolutely.
So right, but what if I told you that a mod is not necessarily Second Amendment the same way that we are?
How do you
maybe
figure?
our goals are not particularly aligned. So again, you've only known the man for 6 months. So you probably aren't aware of his voting habits or his donation habits.
Okay.
But he does donate minuscule amounts at times, but as recently as 2024 to companies like Act Blue to elect people like Hadeen Nasser, Nasser Beirun, blue politicians. And I pulled all this stuff up.
Do you know who that politician is?
He was a guy who tried to run for Senate, I want to say, before he got disqualified. And if we want to talk about that race was wild, because the allegations in there that somebody approached him with like $20 million to run against a anti-Israel politician, the current senator there, that whole story is absolutely wild. But you can go into all of his generic positions and whatnot that I pulled up specifically for this. I mean, he was a Bernie bro back in 2016, and Bernie is not particularly friendly to Second Amendment rights. So I mean, you can argue that he's
to Nasser.
You can argue that he's changed over the last 10 10 years or so that he's been politically active. But he does active, like this is objective. He actually does donate to lefty organizations that are
you're
not
objective, but
necessarily pro-gun.
let's add context. So I told you I'm Lebanese descendant. Ahmad is Palestinian. There are stuff that we, as members of the diaspora from Palestine, from Lebanon, we have concerns that it's not specific to a party. It's just if someone is available to kind of like address those concerns or to bring up those issues.
Now I actually understand that, but wouldn't that kind of mean that there's a higher ideal than just the Second Amendment? Right. So for instance, they'd be willing to align with a somebody who might be less pro Second Amendment if they fit their other bills, like for instance, in Ahmad's case, like more pro Palestinian, which I'm not even saying that's a bad position to hold. But if I'm like let's say this, I'm the Second Amendment absolutist, and Ahmad is like, yes, but like there's more to it than that. I have other allegiances or things that I'd like to see get done. Right. So they're willing to compromise a little bit, as you can see by his voting history and by.
But John, we're assuming that the right or the perceived right or the Republican Party is the Praetorian Guard of the Second Amendment, and I think everyone here knows that not to be true. I think it's very dangerous to.
Well,
and this has been a problem across.
If we want to criticize both sides, there's an infinite amount of ammunition in that regard. But if we're talking about specifically like which side pushes forward more gun control, gun safety advocacy, it is mostly coming from one side. There's still absolutely
overtly, you're right. But then what about the side that uses our Second Amendment concerns as kind of this like lazy hostage? I don't know if that's a good way of putting it, but basically,
no, I understand what you mean. It's like putting the HPA and the Short Act in an 1,100 page bill that does a bunch of other really crappy things that we wouldn't like, but it throws us a bone in the one area where we're interested in.
It's a bargaining chip. We may benefit from it, but at the end of the day, the people that are pitching that shit, your Dan Crenshaws and all those other guys, they don't live this life. So I think we need to really just get out of the like, oh, he voted for Bernie at one point or so. Maybe he did. I don't know if he did. I can't read the.
Well, I mean, he donated actively to the campaign. So that, I mean,
but how much was the donation?
It's tiny amounts, but these were back when he was.
Okay, so probably not using like company funds. Okay, so college.
No, this is personal. This is personal.
Yeah,
just a month.
Okay,
not but I mean, so that's a separate entity.
I liked serving under President Obama. Am I a horrible person? Like,
of course not.
I think I think that's just really irrelevant, and I think it's not. Again, it's just one of those things where people. Maybe you guys have your feelings about it, but typically what I see in the comment sections and other, I don't like Reddit. I think
I agree.
It doesn't. It's not a congregation of like our best stock of people. And I think people just use those little bits to be like, well, that's why I don't buy this product, instead of just being like, hey, I don't feel like buying it. People have like, they talk themselves off of stuff and cite weird reasons. Because at the end of the day, like Hop said, it's just an optic. So it's like, if it's just an optic, then buy it. And if you don't need an optic, don't buy it. But we need to get as many people with optics mounted on rifles, competent, and we need to take this shit seriously. That's how I look at it. So I hear you guys about like, okay, act blue, whatever, man. But at the end of the day, like, if he's pushing out, I think I don't know if Hop was just being like hyperbolic about 1 million units. That's definitely not what they have in inventory. I'm not at liberty to like discuss what they have in inventory, but I have just a good idea because of what I requested and seeing how that contrasted to what's on hand. But they're not holding a trove of. I think a lot of people think also that the stuff's made in China.
Well, no. So sorry to back up there for a second, but did you say that you requested a bunch of stuff from them?
Yeah, for the next few months, I have a lot of guns lined up. So I'm like, it'll make me more. It'll take time away, or how to say, freeze up stuff if I don't have to go out and acquire like optics, if I could just put like, okay, LP1 on this gun, leave it on there,
Mhm.
run all these tests, because I know it's a good, you know, piece of gear. My testing, okay, I get you might have something different, but everything I've thrown at them to include, we just did a dive, not me, but my guy did a dive with it. So if I have something like that, that's with a high confidence, yeah, I'm gonna want to outfit everything I'm doing for the next few months.
Right, but
So
that was
that's
kind of
just a
Hop's original
request.
point is that you're in a, I don't want to say necessarily a financial relationship, but there's like kind of a, hey, can I get XYZ so that I don't have to spend my funds on it? And then the company is supplying you with things. Like there's a relationship there, right? Which in the business we would call that,
Um,
like a bias.
There's also,
no,
from my
no doubt.
perspective, I mean, I think
Uh-huh.
the politics angle is completely for the birds. Like, I don't even, that has not yet entered my factoring for this. It is really just the case of this is not a product worth getting excited about because it is one of many generic white label products. It doesn't offer
So then
anything
why
like
not
really
review it?
special. Because why? Why would I? Why would I waste my time? It doesn't offer anything. It's not like performance to price. It's not like innovative.
How
There's
do you
just
know?
nothing
How do
about
you know
this.
that?
Because
Have you put one on?
because I have seen reviews from people that I trust who have actually taken an objective look at this thing versus
Okay, so
people who
you're
have.
Hop, the guy that knows what the fuck he's talking about and doesn't want to touch this thing for himself. That surprises me.
When I pick up one of these things and I'm like, look at this, it's got a refresh rate flicker. I already hate that shit. It doesn't offer. There's nothing even in the spec sheet that tells me that this could be competitive in the market. Not even for price. Let's just like, okay, let's assume price doesn't exist. Is this better than something else that already exists? The answer is obviously no, just based on the specs provided by the manufacturer, excuse me. They don't make anything because nobody does anymore. But
No, well, hold on.
there's
What do
just
you mean they
no
don't
part of
make
this.
anything?
There's no part of the sales pitch that makes me think I need to take a look at this thing because they're basically saying, hey, we make like a fucking C tier optic for a B tier price. I'm like, well, I'm not interested. So and again, of course, people will always be like, well, hey man, it works. It holds it to recoil. You can drop it. It doesn't matter. Every optic already does that. Every optic already does what they're doing. The difference
Okay.
is that
But
they
what
are
about
charging
nighttime
slightly
performance?
more
That's you
for it.
specialize in. I
Right.
watch
And
your
the
stuff when it
lighting,
comes to putting stuff under goggles. Where's your review on
certainly,
that?
because it doesn't compete. So what's
How
the
does it not
fucking
compete?
point?
How do you know? If you
Well,
don't have one
so
in front of you,
I
how
know
do you
that
test the light
I have
transmission?
looked at it, man. It doesn't fucking compete. The Romeo 8T competes. It's interesting because they spent a shitload of time and money making that thing work with passive aiming. Is it as good as an EOTech, an optic which is, I don't know, conservatively 25 years old or maybe more than that? It's about as old as I am if you actually go back into the fucking patent filings. That for somebody to compete with a 30-year-old holographic optic is already impressive. SIG is able to do that with the 8T and the 9T and to some extent the 4T Pro and 4XT Pro. That makes it interesting. That makes it worth taking a look at. For just another company to be like, hey, we fucking white labeled some bullshit from overseas, what's the reason? Are you buying them because they are competitive in performance and cost? No, you're buying them probably, if we're being honest, because either you have a relationship with this company. You're friends with the CEO, as you've already said. You have a financial relationship with them because they send you product, as you already said, or because of political reasons. They happen to believe in the same political aims that you do. I honestly don't really care about a lot of that stuff. I am interested in the brass tacks, man. Like I am interested in the fucking asphalt reality of how well does this perform for the money. Nothing about lead and steel has ever reached that level for me. But when I say that, you say, oh, you hate 2A for all. You hate brown people. Whatever. I don't know. You have other reasons. You have essentially just bizarre tangential cope to try to explain why I'm not interested in talking about this company.
John, do you have me audio visual?
Really interested.
I have you on audio visual. Yes, sir.
Okay. I lost Hop. Well, I lost both of you, but Hop was saying Romeo and then
it cut out for a second. Yeah, so he's basically going over why the LP1 or the lead and steel optics in general don't excite price for performance, right? So like, for instance, if we're talking about nighttime performance, I want to say originally the LP1 only had 2 settings, and then they updated it to 3 night vision settings. But if we're comparing it to an EOTech, which in their marketing, they directly compare it to an EOTech, and EOTech has what, 10? The Romeo 8T has 4. The aim points have more than that, whatever it happens to be, right? So the night vision performance of the LP1, which I have one right here, is fine, but it's not particularly exciting. So, and I wouldn't even necessarily say that it is a bad red dot. As somebody who has a quote unquote negative review of the red dot,
Sure,
I just think it's kind
you
of
had a good review on it. I liked it, and that's fair.
Brother, he got fucking sued for that review.
Not for the review.
Are you fucking insane, dude? He got fucking sued by that company because he dared to tell the truth about the product to which that point had only had reviews from people who had been either financial or personal relationships with the company. It was a complete fucking smokescreen. All of the hype surrounding that product was inorganic to begin with. One of the reasons why I was not particularly interested in it, because I did not see any actual purchasers, individual buyers buying them and being satisfied with the money that they had paid for this product. Then you get whatever, you get the pre-release hype, which we all complain about. We're all in the fucking gun industry. We hate it when fucking Springfield Armory has an embargo date, and so every single review about a gun comes out on the same fucking day, and you're like, that's all fucking paid for, because we hate that shit, and rightly so. It's just not fucking cool, man. We don't like it. Lead and Steel does the same thing, and then people like you, no offense, are covering for them. Why? Why is it? Is it the product actually that good? No, we already know it's not. Is it a personal relationship?
Hold on.
Like it might be. Is it a political relationship?
I can feel like it is a good optic. I can feel
but you don't fucking know, man. Clearly you don't know.
What do you mean I don't know? How do you not know? Watch my videos. Have you watched my videos?
I have tried. They're a bit of a fucking sufferfest. If you actually knew what you were fucking talking about, you would not be singing the praises of this optic, because there's nothing there that brings this to the level of optics that are worth talking about.
What am I missing here? What am I missing? You tell me what I'm missing in your sufferfest.
Compare optics to other optics. Direct comparisons. There's a lot of people who fail to do this. They do not do a very good job of comparing optics directly. They do the constant, like, well, it looks fine to me. Great. I'm happy it looks fine to you. How many of these things have you used? How many have you shot under night vision? Have you compared to the light transmission? Have you compared to the brightness settings?
Absolutely.
No. Are you testing this shit in your fucking backyard when it's, it's essentially fucking broad ass daylight? It's not an amazing optic. It's not a bad optic. It's perpetually bizarre to us that you would look at a mediocre optic for an above mediocre price and say, this is the fucking holy grail. This is my shit right here. I love this thing. That's what's fucked up. That's why people don't trust you. That's why people don't trust this company. And then they sue or threaten to sue somebody who does a legitimate review of this product.
Relax. Okay. The suing thing, that's something that John can explain. And I don't think it has anything to do with his review. I think was born from the claim of, did I lose you?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. I see hot black.
They have lost the plot, have not lost me.
So John can speak to what transpired there, but I don't think it had anything to do with the review. I want to tell you, but I mean, you keep jumping on me.
Well, I mean, I think it would be unfair to say that it was entirely due to the review outcome, but to the review of the company and our interactions had the majority play in why I got a cease and desist letter from Lead and Steel. Right? I think that is fair to say.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying there, and I think on the concern was, the bribe accusation.
Well, I
we
also
could discuss that separately.
I have my statement written down verbatim. If you'd like to go over it, what exactly I said, because it's such a strange thing to be sued over this hypothetical statement that I issued in a video on not even an overly negative view. And then also I do have to say, I rewatched the video, Lead and Steel's response to my video. And Ahmad outright lies many times in that video about exactly what I said. And I have my transcript pulled up next to what Ahmad is saying. And I'm like, that's just not what happened. And I mean, I think, if I was going to be putting myself in Ahmad's shoes, I think that he felt insulted because actually I met Ahmad at SHOT Show last year. We
Okay.
talked it out and actually came to a pseudo understanding, I suppose. And then this year at SHOT Show, him and two of his buddies try and like gang up on me on the show floor and try and push me around. And I was like, I thought we were chill when I met you one-on-one. But then this year at SHOT Show, you're acting like super tough with two of your buddies behind you. So I don't know. I don't get it. If from my perspective, Ahmad is sleazy. And I don't believe him. I don't believe him.
Okay.
I think he is.
I've said a lot of
many
extremely
occasions.
negative stuff about a lot of products. I think probably the most famous example is going to be the Trigicon MRO. I had some extremely negative takes about the Trigicon MRO. Trigicon has never been mad at me about that. They also were willing, surprisingly, to send me a review copy of the SD, which I was not particularly positive about. I am not at all afraid of being sued by Trigicon. I am a little concerned about being sued by Lead and Steel. If they're going to fucking go after people like Focus Strip about his review of that optic, basically what I would say, and there are other companies like this, and this is stuff that you sort of pick up on the industry, whatever.
Let's focus on Lead and Steel and not cast the web out to other companies.
Certainly. If we're just focusing on Lead and Steel, if somebody was like, hey man, I want to buy this optic, I'd be like, probably don't do it. And if they're like, hey man, I want to review this optic, if they're a fellow YouTube gun content creator, I would say, hey man, don't do it. Because best case scenario is it's a fine optic and you're like, yeah, it's fine. Boring. Nobody cares. Worst case scenario is you're like, I found a flaw with this optic, and you get sued by these people because their entire thing seems to be a smokescreen surrounded by, we have the right political opinions, we have whatever, some kind of.
What is your experience with the U.S. legal system, huh? Have you actually been involved in any lawsuits, any criminal complaints, anything like that?
I do my best to avoid that stuff.
Okay. That would get laughed out of court, buddy. No one is going to sue you for
that's not how court works, man. Laughed out of court is still one of the most expensive experiences that can ever fucking happen to you.
But you've never had
court. Oh, great.
You've never had any experience.
Hey, at least they laughed about it as it went out of court.
Okay. I mean,
getting sued is not a fucking cool experience, man. It doesn't matter if you.
But you've never dealt with it, so how do you know? You're telling people you're going to get bankrupted by this imaginary existential force. Are you fucking serious?
There are people in this call, which consists of 3 fucking people. 1/3 of the people in this call have been sued. 33.3 repeating % of the people in this call have been served with legal paperwork, man. So how do I have experience with that? Well, I've heard about it. Guess what? I've heard about it. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun, and I don't want to fucking go through that shit. Okay? This is a weird-ass fucking company. There are other weird-ass fucking companies. For example, Desert Tech. We know that that's a weird-ass fucking company. They like to sue people. Should you go out of your way to review a Desert Tech product, knowing if you are a very honest person that you will probably have something at least slightly negative to say about a company which has shown a willingness to sue people over negative comments? No, that would be very stupid. You wouldn't do that because it's self-defeating in a way. When you know that a company has this sort of attitude, you just don't want to fucking deal with them. And that's the problem.
Why not? Why wouldn't that be fun? Like, assuming you're saying is correct that like Lead and Steel is just this fucking massive company that'll hit
I don't know how massive they are. All I know, I don't know anything about their size. I'm not going to say anything about their size. I'm going to say that their attitude is very negative. And it seems like they're all too willing to go after people who say things about them negatively. Whereas a company like, for example, Trigicon, I have been extremely mean to them, and they have taken pride because they are.
Let's keep this within scope. I don't care about Trigicon right now. I want to talk about Lead and Steel because you go around, and maybe you don't call him a cuck or a pedo or crazy shit like that, but you're also, brother. You're also allowing that to happen and not really moderating that, and not really saying, hey, that's not my complaint here, because you seem to have complaints, you seem to have concerns, but you're letting that get mixed in with a lot of bullshit online
So
to
let me-
include.
Sorry,
you
what's
calling
the?
him
I'm sorry,
Turkish.
you're gonna
Let
have
me-
to
let me-
explain the
let me-
fucking
let me
cunt slash
interject here.
pedo
So-
comments. Like that is
so
fucking left field.
if
as
this
hell,
is
brother.
a response to some of the negative things that have been said about a mod, I get that terrible. He even told me that somebody tried to dox like one of his engineers when I met him in person, right? Terrible things. Do not do
Yeah.
that, right? I post my death threats that I get on a weekly-ish basis on this channel. So, I mean, it does suck. And people have said that like they want to kill me in front of my family and crazy things like that. I have 3 little children. It's wacky things like that get said online. It's just part of the internet, unfortunately. Like I don't know how to get rid of it. You know, even if you had the power to completely coerce what people could and could not say, is that a power that one person should have, right? I mean, those are other conversations that we could have, but death threats, accusations, name callings, it is unfortunately just a part of being online, right? So, and again, and if
the way
somebody,
that YouTube approaches comment moderation is completely bullshit. Somebody will post something completely innocent and it will end up in the spam filter. Somebody else will post something completely innocent and it won't end up in the spam filter because YouTube is like, you don't even get to rule on this one positive or negative. You just gotta let this one fucking delete.
Okay.
And then somebody will say something like completely heinous and YouTube will be like, we like it. Publish, front page.
But what are
That's
actions that you
utterly
take, Hop,
meaningless.
to say, hey guys, pump the brakes. If you're gonna like my shit, if you're gonna be my subscriber, you need to not engage in this like weird shit, Like
There's no way that would work. So what's the fucking point, man?
What do you mean there's no way? You haven't tried.
Have you used the internet yet? You should try
Yes,
logging
I
on to
have.
www.internet.com, my friend, and see what the fucking people get up to on that.
Oh, okay.
It's a nightmare. It's unstoppable. Those people are everywhere. There is nothing that I can say or do to make that go away other than, I mean, some people just delete comments or like restrict comments completely, but that's a fucking waste of time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe we can't agree on that.
Really,
I think,
honestly, give a shit what people are saying in the comments of my YouTube videos. To the same extent that I don't really care about the political implications of Lead and Steel's extracurriculars. That's not what we've ever been talking about.
What
root of
extracurriculars?
this thing,
what is Lead and Steel extracurriculars?
We got into this at the very beginning of the stream. My point has always been that this product is
what is
not
their
exceptional.
extracurriculars? What is their extracurriculars? You're
We
putting
got
out
into
shit
this.
right
I mean,
now.
we got into the
if you
political
would-
donations.
if you
We
would-
got into the in-range TV, whatever.
Okay. Start with the political donations. John said that was from his college days, right?
well,
Very finite amounts.
starting in his college days, ending in 2024. Right.
Okay.
So I think March of last year was his last registered donation to what's the name? Act Blue, which is a very left-leaning sort of what do you call them? I'm not political. What do you call them? The big PAC. There you go. Yeah. So, and I think they've raised like $16 billion since their inception or something crazy like that. So, and if you follow the trail, you can get to a specific demarcation between different politicians, Bernie, or I think there was one for the CARE donation as well. I could be wrong about that one, but you can kind of follow the organizations and the money that he's been putting in. So you can kind of, I guess, guesstimate his political leanings may not be, or at least his donations may not be as pro to as people would like for a Second Amendment company, right? Now, if we want to talk about extracurriculars, things that I don't particularly like is, I don't know if there's some sort of relationship between Lead and Steel and A Better Way 2A, but they do have a lot of cross promotion on A Better Way 2A, which is not, how do I say this? If I can find the screenshot here, so I have like 30 tabs up. Better Way 2A, not my favorite people. The guy with the Protect Trans Kids shirts there. Well, YZY. Oh, sorry, he dropped out. Let me bring him back up. Sorry, sir. But yeah, so A Better Way 2A, which they do some sort of cross promotion. They sell Promethean LP1s. In fact, when I went to their website today, this is the splash screen on A Better Way 2A is the promotion with Lead and Steel. And again, some of their
real quick, I lost you at Act.
Yeah, so some of their beliefs are just not compatible with mine. So they also do engage in some extracurriculars that I am not a fan of. not just the political donations, but social and other things as well. And I mean, if we want to get into Ahmad's actual affiliations as well, back here, which I pulled these up as well, which you can just, this is him and the organizations that he was affiliated with while at the OSU. One of them is the MSA, which, if we scroll to the bottom, is MSA was established by members of the Muslim Brotherhood in January 1963.
Can you pause real quick?
Go ahead.
I lost you when you started Act Blue, so I cut out then. So I don't know what's, and it looks like I'm cutting out again. I don't know what's going on with the stream, but it's not my connection because I'm able to still receive notifications, and it seems like everything else upstream and downstream is good on my end.
Can you hear us? Hello, sir.
I got you loud and clear. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I was just making sure that you could actually hear us. So
yeah,
if we go into it, he's also been affiliated with other left-wing,
no worries,
organizations that I'm not necessarily a fan of. A Better Way to A, which is a radical left-wing gender identity group, I suppose you could say. They also have a seemingly close ties with Lead and Steel, promoting them on their website, on their Instagram, tagging them and things like that, and promoting of ideals that I find non-conducive to Western society. So, I mean, there are other reasons why I might dislike Lead and Steel and the people that they choose to associate with.
Right. Let's see. That is so weird. Okay. How do you read?
Oh, we're good. I hear you.
Okay, cool. You were saying something about Better Way to A. What's that?
Yeah, so A Better Way to... Well, we'll go back to it. Let me pull this up. So A Better Way to A is a strange lefty group, let's just say, and they are in love with Lead and Steel, very, very much so. I think they align on a few things. But one of their, Better Way to A, protect trans kids is, not particularly conducive with my personal morals. They're always posting about the Lead and Steel Promethean. This is their splash screen on their website. When you actually go to A Better Way to A, this is currently on their website right now. When you go to all products, all sorts of things that are non-conducive to Western society, that I would say. So there are other reasons, not just outside of political donations, outside of organizations that he's been affiliated with and people that he still chooses to affiliate with now and directly is tied to monetarily, reasons that I wouldn't even necessarily like Lead and Steel, the company, not even just Ahmad, right? For what I see as his personal wrongdoings towards me and my family.
Okay. I caught that part. I think we already discussed the Act Blue thing. To me, it's that. So I don't know much about the candidate. I just know he's a Lebanese guy. I know that something that concerns, I think, a lot of us, not just people from the Middle East, is AIPAC. I won't go bring too many politics, but just so people understand, there's like for me, again, I don't think Hop knows, but Lebanese descendant. I don't like seeing, churches being hit with JDAMs because Hezbollah is there.
I still don't care about the politics angle.
Right. But that's just why there might be interest in that candidate specifically. Now, I'm glad you brought up you brought up earlier the marketing rollout that was what you perceive as what you say, cringe or something. Inorganic. Yeah, definitely. And then these jokers. So you're right. I am biased, but it doesn't mean that I don't give my own counsel to my friend. I told him that very recently that all of that shit needs not to go away because it's like, hey, cover this up. I'm like, this is detracting from your trajectory is the best way to put it, because you're, in my opinion, these are our duty grade optics. And you're letting people like whatever the protect trans, I don't know, what is that, like you set up Overwatch for trans kids at I don't know what the fuck that means, but
A Better Way to A gets into all sorts of funny shenanigans. So I mean, that's a whole couple hours.
Yeah, so like you said, shenanigans. And it's just like, dude, that has that has nothing to do with the product. It doesn't show the product in a good light. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of these people were friendly to him and kind of gave the company an introduction to the industry, and it was probably the wrong one, in my opinion. I feel, but again, I told you
Well,
earlier,
I think as Ahmad said personally is that he started out on Reddit, which attracts a certain crowd.
Mhm.
So, and I think it was very heavily pushed on Reddit. In fact, I have never used Reddit outside of like 2 comments, like ever in my life. And I
Yeah,
somehow, because of this ordeal, I got myself permanently lifetime banned from Reddit for like not posting. One day I just checked it like 6 months later, and somebody
yeah,
had reported my account so many times that I was permanently banned from using Reddit after
yeah.
like not even checking it for like 6 months.
Yeah, I'm no fan of Reddit here. When I was volunteering in Western North Carolina, someone had posted a picture of me, you know, talking to the helicopters with the radio, and the comments about my like the things that they were caring about, instead of like, hey, are those people good? What do they need? It was like, hey, where does he have that nav board? There's a IR beacon on his phone that's giving his position away, and I'm like, dude, least of my concerns. But so for me, and then you click on their names, and it's like they're all in these kink things. One time I was looking up a
That
416 recce gun, and I was like, there was a guy who said he was from JSOC, so I clicked
mhm.
to see, just kind
Yes,
of
Mr.
corroborate
Mr.
that.
Mark Fry. Yeah, yeah. Mark Fry is
And
all over those boards.
I click on the page, and I kid, this is not me like being funny here. Like he
Mhm.
he had a page, or he had a comment somewhere on a page where he said, yeah, like my wife tells me to like fuck other men for like mental health. It was just, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dude, you just had some cool shit to talk about, this
Right.
gun, and now
But I
now
mean,
I'm like, oh, I
those
can't
are
get
the
that on my
types of
mind.
people that Lead and Steel chooses to associate with and to do
For
business with.
now,
So,
for now, I
right.
I think there's going to be a shift, because guys like me, and I actually had a conversation with someone else who was like, hey, we're trying to get them back to to an event. And we've noticed with their marketing, like, I mean, dudes, like, I think you don't realize that people in like, I think, it says up there, Lead and Steel Greatest Defender. Like, yes, I am a member of that camp.
That
But
that's
it
a
does,
that's a meme on the channel because we've had other greatest defenders on the channel
yeah,
before. So that's just an internal meme.
no, no, honored. But what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of your criticism is not, it doesn't stop with you. I think there's a video from Gunvira. It's like an anime lady thing, and she just like says nothing, like make a hop fucking divide by zero if you watch that shit. And it's like, oh,
Every
and
time
one
she
thing I
posts
don't
something,
like
people
about,
post and they comment on me and they're like, "Hey, man, it's female you." I'm like, "Yeah, that's thanks. I
yeah,
don't have those, assets, but thanks."
so yeah, I mean, it sucks because I think they offered again an entry for Lead and Steel into the industry, but it was the wrong one in my opinion, because it's like, dude, this thing needs to be on fucking work guns. That's how I see it. So that's kind of my angle at it too. Is like, dude, I want to portray the optics where, yeah, that was the frustrating part for me, because I follow their page, and I'm like tired of seeing weird PCC truck gun stupid shit. I'm like, dude, this thing, I've been asking for one for my, I have a 12.5 inch 417, like fucking sick guns like that. That's what needs to be the the how do you say it, the part of the fielding plan for these things. But if anyone is so receptive to that kind of criticism, it's him. I think you guys would probably have a better relationship if there was more. I get with John, it's probably going to be a little difficult to. I mean, you said you got approached at the SHOT Show, so I don't want to talk about
Yeah, I don't,
something I have no.
It's tough
weird.
to build a friendship with somebody that you have served
I
papers
I
to.
thought I thought we were chill. Well, after I met him in person, specifically to have it out with him, and I thought we had an arrangement, basically where we just don't talk about each other ever. And then for
Yeah,
some reason, he and a couple of his buddies just walk up and try and push me around a little bit, which I thought was funny. So
I mean, Again, I'm a dude that likes to squash beef and move on to the bigger things. So maybe you guys can get on with that. If not, that's gonna suck. We're all gonna feel it in this industry. Now for Hop, I mean, I think you should just review one. I get you don't want to, but it's like if you have all your criticism, why not put it into review? And the whole thing of, oh, I might get sued. It's like, dude, you can get sued right now. For the things that you believe your exposure is already ongoing. So it's like, why not just do something that's actually authentic to you as opposed to these weird fucking videos where you're holding a beer and saying this isn't Second Amendment, that is. Like, dude,
Wow,
I guess
that's comforting. Thank you.
so. Yeah, I think, yeah, I would look forward to a review from you. I would enjoy watching it. I watch a lot of your stuff. But again, the earlier what I was saying, we do need to remember that every minute, every second that goes by, people are moving against us. So, um, yeah, as someone who believes and knows that, I'm going to try to make broker some sort of peace. Like I didn't really do it very well just now, but you get where I'm going. Is we need to move past this kind of shit, and then also, offer how do you say it? So in like survival training, you're taught this concept called bounce back, and it's literally anything you fuck up. Um, you tell your comrades like, hey, whatever that was, don't worry about it, do better next time, we got you, we love you, right? Because when you're getting tuned up by I mean, it's by role players, right? But like, let's say you're in a mock POW camp and you're getting tuned up, you might do something stupid while wearing your uniform and you're going to feel very embarrassed and you're going to go internal. That happens to guys, right? They spit on their uniform. um, they say something stupid in front of a camera, and then they feel like completely embarrassed. And what happens when that sorry, the effect of that is people go internal, they go the wrong direction. So you need to pull people back and say, hey, you know whatever happened, but fucking press on. Because again, and they're in the survival concept, or not concept, those circumstances, you're either trying to survive or to be repatriated. But in this case, we need to not sow division. We need to look at guys like Lucas and, spread that information, spread that passion. Not, I hate that term gatekeeping, but I mean, that's the thing, is break those barriers, right? Get that information out, teach people how to equip themselves, to see that this isn't a fucking hobby. This is life or death. And yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at with that. So I think if you can consider the maturity involved with that, and recognize that whatever beefs you have is probably like not going to last very long in the grand scheme of things, and better things can become of a maybe a friendship, but definitely a more neutral relationship, where a year later there's not videos where people are being disparaged, because it's not just, you might think, okay, I'm going after the company, the cringe shit that they're involved with, whatever. But like, I mentioned that guy that I know from the company, and I only learned this recently because he sews, and I was like, what else you do? And he was explaining that he does a lot of the assembly and the soldering and all the fucking purging and stuff of putting the optics together. And it's like, dude, that's very interesting, because the internet seems to think that this comes out of a warehouse or whatever factory in China, right? But it's people in Ohio that are putting this together, and they're working on doing more components stateside. So it's like, instead of letting, in fact, I, as this
Well,
develops
so
in
that
my
was
head,
one of the original claims of Lead and Steel, is that they were eventually at one point going to be made entirely in the US. And as it stands currently, I believe it's still assembled in the USA mostly, or 100% is what they claim currently. But yeah, so I think if we go back to the actual optic itself for a second, I think there might have been
yeah.
a selling point there that, hey, at some point we're gonna maybe get it all made in the
Mm,
USA, even though that hasn't
mm.
happened, 3 years later or whatnot. Uh, But yeah, no, I get what you're saying about coming together, about, you know, not having this disunity per se. But there is also the other side of this, which is my perspective, is that I do not want to be unified with people who are, how do I say this, who are not a net positive to my way of life or my goals and values. For instance, I don't want to make peace with evil. I'm not saying that lead and steel is evil or all the people that are working there are evil, but I want to call out bad behavior because I think people have gotten away with a lot and being able to kind of move on from that sort of thing. And if I, again, I hadn't talked about any of this stuff in a long time, but
Yeah.
if a mod wants to make peace, I would say the ball is in his court to do something. It is not on everybody else. For instance, I paid my own money for the LP1. I waited the 6 months to get that. I don't think it's a, even if you could say, you know, it's like the bigger thing to do to let it go. I had let it go until you messaged me to bring it back up, basically. So
Yeah.
I'm all for not talking about this anymore going forward, but I'm just not sure that's the world that we live in.
I mean, we shape the world that we're living, you know? And you guys have a lot more influence than you might appreciate. I'm not here to flatter you if you think that's I'm just trying to butter you up, but that's a realistic assessment of both of you, that you do have a reach. I think for you, John, you know, I mentioned like the welding thing, like that's fucking awesome that you're doing those pin and weld jobs. You've been doing those. I don't know if you're still doing them, but it's like that's what I need to see more of. And then from Hop, I mean, I get your kind of like your quips and the snarkiness. That's kind of your shtick. But dude, at the end of the day, you're going around the camp and you're bringing down the morale. That's not good. So that would be my only message to you, man, is just consider the effect of your words. And you know, when we talk about manufacturing and it's like, oh, they still haven't done this, it's like, dude, it's not an easy thing to accomplish, to manufacture anything.
I agree, but that was the promise that they
Yeah.
made to their customers who bought their products.
Yeah, but I mean,
That is
when you
still
think
not what
about
I have ever had an issue with.
Yeah, no,
That is ever
Hop
what
has
I've-
not a problem for the last 40 minutes. Hop is.
You understand, like you guys are talking about stuff I don't give a fuck about.
okay,
I
well,
don't
what do you
like
give a fuck about?
This is a product which, when you get in your hand, you're like, oh, it's basically a Holosun 510C, which is an object that has existed for a very long time and I can have for under $200, but they're charging $400 for it, and then the markup seems to be accounted for via social media influence and fucking, you know, what, maybe they're not paid reviews, maybe they're friend reviews. I don't really know. My entire thing has always been and always will continue to be that this object does not seem to perform on a level that justifies the price, not even if you would consider where it's assembled. I just don't see the fucking point. And when I point that out, people are like, why are you a hater? Why do you hate this company? And then, you know, and there's also the implication of like, well, lawsuits could be coming your way.
But what's your business experience? I got to ask you that. What's your experience in business?
Brother, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, what I'm talking about is you're going to have products that are not amazing upfront, right? Or you're going to like the aspirations to open up.
Okay, careful. Don't be fucking using that as a positive. Well, don't worry. Our product sucks now, but maybe later it could be good. That's not.
Well,
okay, that doesn't
it
work.
can always be better. I mean, I'm not going to, I get you. You asked for my honesty, right? Or I assume you expect my honesty. The LP1 is fucking heavy, right? I think there's parts that could be titanium on there. So
titanium is
again, I don't fucking care, brother. Come on,
okay,
I don't
great,
fucking care.
You're cutting me off, and now you don't care. I can't keep up with you, man. But
what's
I'll just
good
keep
about
going.
this optic?
Oh my god, it's an optic, right? On the manufacturing side,
sell me the pen, brother. Sell me the pen.
it does what it needs to
Sell
do.
me.
If you don't have the money, then don't buy it.
They all do that. They all
Great.
done that. They've done that for
Okay.
fucking years, man.
Okay.
And they don't
All right.
cost that much. And they're not from weird ass
What is
companies that
much?
sue people.
What is much? I paid $500 for my LP1. That's not a lot
Holy
of money.
fucking shit! I hope that came with a fucking $450 rebate, dude.
No, but
That's not good. That's bad. That is a
Why is it
bad
bad?
review. You
What
just reviewed that optic badly. by saying that you paid $500 for that, we all know, I think, from having watched a couple of reviews, how well it performs relative to other optics on the market. You paid $500 for that? You got fucked. You got fucked by that company, and now you're friends with them. That's not normal. You should be like, wow, this is bullshit. These guys fucking screwed me over. And instead, you're friends with them. What is happening, man? You are not doing a very good job of reviewing this as a product in the current market.
First of all, I'm not
What the
reviewing
fuck is
it.
happening, man?
Be very clear. I've mentioned earlier, like in a video or two, that like, hey, I would review this, and that was kind of predating where I was like, hey, if you can provide me fucking optics, this will be included in our test environment, and we can provide our data, right? So that's stuff like the maritime shit that we do, mud testing, all that fun stuff. So there's not going to be a review from me on
Jamie,
something
pull up
that
the cost of a Sig Romeo 4XD Pro from T-Rex Arms.
now
I bet it's about that much money.
to get back to the
That's
business
a lot
part,
fucking
which
better.
you are not experienced in, is that
Doesn't
everyone
matter.
comes
I'm
into
not
this-
a
it
business
doesn't
guy. I'm a
matter.
consumer. I review things from the consumer perspective.
I know that's just
That's what I'm
you are, is
interested
a consumer.
in. And you
are
can say,
correct.
hey, man, we have to charge this much money. Because I think you're basically on their side. So we is an appropriate thing.
You're right. I am on their side. You don't need to
Exactly.
think that. I'm
So when
telling
you say we,
Yeah.
that would be an accurate statement. So
Okay.
we
Yeah.
think this is an appropriate
No
price
quotes.
to charge
It's
for this
we.
product. Right. And it's
Yeah.
just, it simply isn't.
Okay.
It's not a good product competitive
Okay.
in the market as it exists right now. Maybe that could
Okay.
change. I don't know. Maybe they could bring manufacturer
it
over to the
is.
United States. You are also friends with the company that runs this product. So
Okay, it's
what
still
this-
my
your,
money
your
that I
opinion,
paid.
your opinion that this is worthwhile is worth very little to us, the consumers who are
Is it?
prospective buyers of this product, right? Maybe this could change. Maybe the price goes down. Maybe the source of the components moves over to, allied countries. Maybe the place of manufacturer becomes completely local. Maybe this all could happen.
And that just happens like that, Hop?
I don't. Stop
I know
it,
you
dude.
don't care
I
because you
don't
don't understand. You
care.
have no
I'm the
fucking clue what you're
consumer.
talking
It is not my job to make
You
red
are
dots.
a
It's my
consumer.
job to
I
look at the
think the
market of red
distinction
dots,
is
see
here
what can
is
be
that
purchased for the money, and then
as a
buy the
reviewer-
one that makes the most sense to me as a consumer. That's my job. That is
So-
what we all do. We are all
so-
consumers of this stuff. You're
so I've used
trying
this-
to tell us that you should buy this product either because it could be better or because there's something about the company that you personally wish to support. Neither of those are compelling arguments from the perspective of the consumer.
Great, don't
So-
follow my advice.
Well, so here's the thing. This argument comes up a lot, and I don't think it's a good argument because, for instance, if I get into a vehicle and then the brakes stop working, and I'm like, "Hey guys, the brakes stopped working in this vehicle," the company can't be like, "Well, hey, you design a better vehicle." It's like that's not the problem. The problem is I bought yours, and it's either not very good, or it's not doing the thing that I
Yeah.
wanted it to do, or it's not doing the thing that you told me to do.
And that happened
Right,
with
so
yours,
coming
right?
back
You
and
had
being like-
an issue with the
Well, so it
the
had
emitter,
a
right?
flicker refresh rate issue, which
Okay.
the mod claimed that can happen out of every 1,000 or something like that. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to get into that, but the point being that it's not my responsibility to fix your product or to have the best business sense. Like I am the guy who talks about it and types in a Yelp review.
But
right?
I
Or whatever
found
it
your
happens to
review
be.
valid. That's what I'm saying. You did a review. You had a unit, and
Right,
it was,
but my knowledge of business sense or even how to improve the product is irrelevant to my thoughts on it. Now I might have
I don't think it's irrelevant,
business
though.
sense.
I don't think it's irrelevant. I think you have a business sense, and I think you understand that how. I mean, how should I say this? Because obviously you're not privy to everything, right? I'm not privy to everything. I only know what I've seen. But in terms of like components, assemblies, stuff like that, you have an idea of what that costs, where that comes from, the issues with vendors, the pressure to get a product out there, right? I'm lucky because I just sew things where if it's not in spec, it goes in the trash can and it never sales, right? And I'm saying this across the board for the industry because I've had many experiences just like you guys have, where you've had products that seem like they were rushed or they, missed QC because there was a pressure to just get shit downrange and deal with it later. So that could have been your experience. I don't know, right? But it's a different game, and that's why when I look at businesses, I can't hold them to the same standards as my 100% QC within my own so shop, right? Because they have employees, there's human factors, there's stuff that we can go through the whole list of things, right?
Mhm. Well, so again, I'm also a manufacturer. I also just work
Yeah.
on my own. And when there's an issue, actually, funnily enough, Hop actually owns the worst upper I've ever put together. I don't even know if he still has that thing. But when I make a mistake
Cannibalized
or
a few
there's
parts already, I'm afraid.
oh, perfect. I don't know how you got that gas block off. But
Pork, my friend. Pork.
that's a different story. But when I have an issue or a customer comes to me, it's not if they had a bad experience, I can't tell them, hey, like, don't say mean things about me online. It's like, well, no, I shipped them that. It's 100%. I can't even blame anybody else in that circumstance, right?
Yeah, but is
Do I
that what
deserve
happened?
the criticism? That I mean, has that happened to me? Yes, I've made
No,
mistakes
no,
and I
with
deserve the
Lead and
criticism.
Steel. No, no, no. Like did they say don't say mean shit during a review? Did that come up?
That phone call was pretty funny, man. So
Okay.
I've had it explained different ways about different things. It was before the review came out. He offered financials, he offered ammunition, he offered to bring me on as like white what did he say, white paper consultation or something. I don't have his transcript pulled up in front of me, but something to bring me on to do R&D for them or whatnot. Now
Okay.
you might have a frame of reference for that that's different than me, but when somebody tells me that in the middle of a bad review, I got weird vibes from that right away. And honestly, I was not expecting the pushback I got when I released that video, because I've told in other videos when people have offered me money or ammunition or whatever in the video, and I've never gotten a C and D from other companies. Like if I'm like, hey, K Tactical offered me a case of ammo to refuse to review this, and I denied it or accepted it or whatever it might be, K Tactical is not going to come back at me and sue me into oblivion because they're a meme company, right? And they're
Yeah.
not going to deny that.
Um, so I think what I kind of talked to you before, like privately, was like the cultural thing. So for the part of the world we're from, right? I mean, I believe he is U.S. born citizen. I was not. I'm not. I didn't. Was not born in Lebanon, but I am an immigrant. I was naturalized in 2009. Um, and it's just it doesn't matter how long you've been. It's just it's a natural thing. We're very hospitable. That's our culture. Like that's what we grow up around is to make people feel whole. Mm, that's taught in a lot of schools, like for like special operations, they get taught like that kind of cultural sensitivity of like, hey, they're gonna off like when you're dealing with these countries, they're gonna be like overwhelming, overbearing at times, right? And that's something
Right.
I
Uh, Okay, so
I
just I don't want to straw man you here. I don't want to straw man here. So
yeah,
you're saying, because I was thinking this was going to be your argument, that that is more of a cultural thing to make somebody whole, so to like kind of go the extra mile. So whereas in America we'd be like that's trying to influence or whatnot, but over there it's more of a sign of politeness or niceness, I suppose.
yeah. So in our culture, it's like you want so just as like as is because I believe you're like very how do you say like strong Christian
Socially,
faith, right? Like
yeah.
I enjoyed that topic you had with Brandon Wambo. So for for you guys it's being the leader in the room, right? Being the very strong faith and emanating that, right? Like for others to see that example and be like, yeah, we're not gonna like you said, and I think that's what you meant when you were like, I don't want to align with evil. You're thinking of the weird fucking fringe 2A
Well,
that's
not just
blends.
that. What Ahmad has
Okay.
tried to do to me personally as well. Like that is
Okay.
those are all tangential reasons that are also out there why I might not want to buy something from Lead and Steel or support Ahmad
Okay.
or whatever he's doing, right? But not to mention that he also did attempt to ruin me and by proxy my family financially, right? And it wasn't
Yeah.
it would have happened if not for the outpouring of support from the community essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how all that transpired, so I hope he's like watching and maybe he can consider like maybe he didn't know about that dimension. I don't know. I can't speak for him on that regard. But for the
I
cultural
can play
thing,
word for word that he was happy to drag my sorry ass to the court system or something like that. I mean,
but was that
his
said? I think I
Video
know what
is
you're
now
talking about. Was that
unlisted, but don't worry, we all saved copies of it because we thought this would come into play later. And
no, I know the video you're talking about. I'm not pretending like that doesn't exist, but I don't think that was like a, how do you say? I think that was kind of like a crash out moment. I think that's what a lot of people say now.
Well, yeah, I get that it's a
Um,
crash out moment and that he
yeah.
overreacted. The problem was he was holding the gun to my head, right? So maybe not that valid of a crash out. From the outside
Okay.
perspective, you might be like, "Oh, he's just overreacting," right? But I'm the one under the gun in that case.
Well, I mean, you brought up a good point. I mean, because that's something I do stupid crash outs at times, and it's not just me going into a tree at 100 miles per hour. There's other people that get fucked up from that, right? So,
Yeah. And if he
I
had
think
just come
it's
out with a video and be like, that guy, he's full of crap, whatever, forget about him, that would have been fine. But it was the way that he went about it,
yeah, but maybe this is something
with the
that you
threat.
guys can, as men of faith, discuss. But not to stop talking about this, but I just want to explain the cultural aspect. Is just for us, generosity is one of the things that's very highly valued. You never want to seem uh, like being charismatic and generous is a very big deal from the part of the world that our ancestors are from. So that's like for me, I did a lot of buying and selling gear a long time ago, and I stopped because I had seen my parents, they would buy a car from a Lebanese guy, like a Lebanese dealership, stuff like that, right? And I would just see that guy, and that was kind of like the template for me to follow of like, oh, that's how I want to be. I want to be this very nice guy that gives you this extra thing and makes you feel warm, and there's food and all that stuff, right? But in America, it's difficult to do that with people that, especially in our industry right now, they're very weary. They feel like, like I could tell Hop gets very excited. It feels like a lot of stuff is a ploy, is there's something sinister underneath, so shit like that. So for me, at this point, I think I forgot who I was telling recently, but I was like, dude, the way I conduct business is like a fucking biker like moving dope, where it's just like, here's the shit, give me the money, split fast, like no emotions, nothing, right? Because a few years ago I did the whole fucking, not it's not an act, but I was just like, hey, I want to give you this. I want to make you feel like you're not, because this item is expensive. I want you to feel, and people were awful with that. So, and didn't receive that very well. So I think there is going to be cultural things where we stand out and that could be misread. And I think that's a little bit plays into this. You're right. Like there is kind of concern at mid review if someone is trying to influence it, but at the end of the day, how can you not expect them to? That's their product, it's their baby. Now, I think the only time you should be alarmed if someone is like, hey, you need to sign this, right? If there's like an NDA. But if someone offers you money or ammo or whatever, and you're like, no, no, thanks, you still have the opportunity to be like, hey, and you did, right? As far as I recall, you say,
Right.
hey,
So
this was brought up to me and I rejected it. And that's that. You still have the opportunity to discuss that. I think it's only a problem if you're not able to discuss that.
So
eh,
I think if you were going to point out my flaws in that, could I have worded that better? 100%. Absolutely could have worded that better. No,
yeah.
no doubt about it. I mean, the situation didn't
Mhm.
have to happen in the first place. That's what I would say. And there were definitely things that if I went back with the knowledge that I have now, that I would have changed or worded things slightly differently. Probably, of course, right? Um, but in this industry, I think that it is a greasy place, as Mod likes to call it. And I think that a lot of this stuff does not get called out. And to me, it's very important when people are spending their hard earned money, they should know whether or not they can trust the reviews from a certain company if that company is paying out big sums of cash. Like, for instance,
So,
GBRS clears a cool $250,000 a year from SIG. Do I trust a single thing GBRS says about SIG? No, because they're just
mm,
obviously in the pocket of SIG, right?
I mean, yes and no. I think, I mean, I don't want to talk about other companies, but for the GBRS thing, I think there's a lot of pile on. And that's the problem, is that things get mixed up. I think like Matt Bronco was drunk the other day and just saying like motherfuck DJ Shipley. And it's just like,
Matt
dude,
lives drunk, as far as I'm aware.
I mean that's hard to see. I'd be real with you. That sucks to watch that. I'm sad that that was aired. But I think at the end of the day, GBRS, those dudes were at a unit where they use SIGs. So, um, like for me, I, if you
Right.
ask me, is
And
the M4
if they told me that on the street, I would think that that's transparent and genuine. But then the fact
yeah,
that they cover every SIG product and get sent every SIG product and get paid $250,000 a year to promote their products, like now I just don't believe anything that you happen to say. And especially when you come out and make like a defense video for SIG, basically.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
so
mean, it's
I mean
definitely going
that
to be hard.
if you don't
It
want to talk
becomes
about it, you don't want to
muddier.
talk about
Yeah, it
it.
definitely
Exactly.
becomes muddier. But I think that is such a different payout than, I don't know what, I think they just get free stuff. I don't think anyone else is. Yeah, as far as I know, I
Well,
don't know.
so
I haven't seen or heard anything about
the
people
numbers
getting
get wild
paid,
when we the numbers get wild when we talk about certain
but maybe you
people,
know
and
more.
whether it's
Yeah.
just affiliate commissions and stuff like that. So from my perspective, it just needs to be brought up and addressed. So you could say that I
Okay.
addressed it incorrectly, but my position is still that if I don't know what I don't even deal with companies anymore, like hardly ever, just
Yeah.
because of how much more annoying it is to deal with their social media person or timelines or whatever else might be. So on Focus Trip, I basically do nothing with manufacturers. I just buy it. If I'm interested, I'll buy it. If a friend of mine wants to let me borrow something for review, he'll let me do that. But
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved with companies at all, because I see this sort of stuff happening a lot in the industry.
I mean, yeah, I don't.
And even going back to Hop's original point, it's even if it's not money, even if it's just product or friendship, it subconsciously biases people or gives you an out if you maybe don't go quite as hard, and you might rough out some of your edges, in a review if you actually like the guy, or you give them the benefit of the doubt, if
Yeah.
something else happened in the review. So that's why I try to be outside the industry as much as possible.
Okay. I
I
mean,
think
I
it's very telling that there are different ways that a company can go when they receive a negative review. You've got something like Trigicon. Again, we'll go with that. I savaged the Trigicon MRO in a review, and their response was to do nothing because they don't give a fuck about me, because they have their own business going on well above my head. And that's acceptable. That's fine. My duty is to you, the fucking viewer, who's about to drop $450 on a red dot that's not very good. Fine. Then you've got companies like Vortex. I did a review when the original Vortex Defender red dot pistol red dot came out. I was like, this thing is fucked up. There's a whole bunch of stuff wrong with this. And Vortex is a little bit more consumer oriented than Trigicon is. Their response was to fix everything. And it's not just me. I'm not saying like my review made Vortex fix this red dot. I'm saying that reviews in general, honest reviews, cause them to fix the problems with this red dot. They didn't sue people. They didn't get butt mad about it. They were just like, yeah, you're right. We didn't do our best work with this one. The current version of the Vortex Defender, fucking sick. Like they fixed everything. Their response was to take this criticism to heart and make a better product. That's awesome. And then you've got fucking Lead and Steel. They were criticized for legitimate problems with their product, and their response was lawsuit, smokescreen, avoid, delay, deny. Like they just were like hiding from the problem. So
yeah, I mean,
I'll even let off Lead and Steel there for a second. This is the Jackal that has the out of spec pick rail. And
okay.
they banned me from buying. They stole my money for 3 months, so I had to do a chargeback on them because they just never shipped my product. But they didn't sue me. But what they did, actually, they might hate my guts, but every Jackal has a completely different rail now. The machining is completely different after that video. So they might dislike me, but every customer that buys a Jackal going forward, they get a completely different pick rail on top that is hopefully never going to have that issue again because of my video.
So clearly, I have four ways to go about this process.
They're completely different. It's funny. It's funny how many things we get. This is a totally different conversation about stealth changes, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. How can we tie that in? I mean, you mentioned earlier, like you were kind of invited to do like R&D. I think again, there's a way to kind of handle that is like, hey, that might be
Post
something I'm interested
post
in, but
post review. Yeah, it was just it was the timing of it and that
yeah,
made it seem fishy to me. And it my conversation with Ahmad was very different than what he's made it seem in the video. For instance, when he offered me money, I told him very autistically no, like loud and clear, cut him off mid sentence. And then he asked like what, and then I said it again. And then he actually thanked me for not taking his money because of I suppose other people that he had been dealing with or something like that. So I got weird vibes from that conversation, man. So that
yeah.
is
Well, I
why
mean,
that
it's
is
an
what ended up
uncomfortable
in that video.
conversation, I
And
think.
it probably might have been uncomfortable for Ahmad as well, as he's the CEO, he's kind
Yeah,
of the face of the company or whatnot. So I think that everything could have been handled better, and it just wasn't.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I look as an outsider, and yes, I'm biased, but I just think it's a shame, right? And I think I've already voiced that. But yeah, I mean, not. I think we're just at this point about to beat a dead horse, unless there's something else you can think of that we've missed. But
Well, yeah, but
yeah,
I'm not I'm not
I don't.
I'll say I do
There is
I,
no. I mean, it is absolutely not too late for Let's Steal. Like, I mean, they're going to continue to iterate on their product. They're going to continue to go forward as a company, and they could absolutely take a better stance going forward. And it takes time. It always takes time. Like, I mean, this is something I always love to talk about is that there are still guys who hate Ruger for what Bill Ruger said in like 1993, 1994. I mean,
yeah,
that's my entire lifetime. People still hate that company. And they have done nothing wrong pretty much for 30 years, 35 years almost at this point, and people still hate them. Like, I mean, you fuck up once, you gotta do a lot of work, and you gotta put a lot of time into to sort of mending that image or whatever. It's like it's not too late, but it does take a lot of fucking time.
yeah. But
Smith
I
and Wesson,
think
same thing.
you're
People
you
be
know
like, "Hey,
you're
Smith and
saying
Wesson, the
this.
Hillary hole,
Yeah,
they
I
fucked
mean, I
up.
like what
They
you're
don't like
saying,
it."
Hop. I like what you're saying, Hop. But you're also not checking in with them. You're saying I'm not going to touch it. It's mediocre at best, or something to that effect, right? Like
Yeah,
you're
at this
saying,
point, yeah, they haven't really done much. They're still selling the same product. They're still, supporting the
well,
same organizations or channels or
I
whatever.
don't
They
think
haven't done
that's
so.
all
Like,
the same
there's
product,
not
man.
much different.
The one of the pistol dots that I've had from before, it's I got a newer one recently, and it's got there's some differences that I can
But
spot. Okay.
white labeling stuff just isn't really compelling to me, to be honest. Like, it's just
What do you
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not good enough to make me think like I have to reevaluate my entire position about this company. I mean, like, they're doing what everybody else is doing,
Yeah, but
I mean,
you're
there's a lot
talking
of
about
companies
them,
doing that
That's
stuff.
the thing. You're standing in your truck
I'm not
bed.
gonna talk about their product. I'm talking about them as a company. They did some scumbag shit.
Yeah, but again,
They
you
go
haven't
after
really checked in. I mean,
script,
maybe there
and
was a reflection they had or an improvement that you are not aware of, right?
see an apology. I would be more interested in that than anything else. But like, they go after Focus Trip, and I'm like, okay, that seems like scumbag behavior. I'm a little bit skeptical of this company going forward. Same thing, Desert Tech. They go after Brass Facts, and I'm like, well, okay, that seems like a bit of a scumbag behavior. I'm a little bit skeptical of this company going
Yeah.
forward. They're gonna
I
have to
don't
do
know
something,
anything about Desert
honestly,
Tech.
really
Um,
above. Yeah, you don't want to get into that shit. I mean, like, it's
so
all
I
that's bad.
you're not falling on deaf
these
ears or
companies
something, but yeah,
really need to do something above and beyond to sort of make up for the interpersonal things that they have done. The product was never amazing then. It's not amazing now. That has never really been the thing with Lead and Steel. Like, it
yeah, but why
honestly,
not organize those thoughts into something constructive that they can build upon? That's my thing, is because
because that would
Well,
be a negative review,
but
which
it
I might
but
get sued for.
you're not going
That
to
is
get
the
sued.
concern.
You
Same
have
thing
my
with Desert
word.
Tech.
so
I will pay your
I
legal
would
fees.
certainly
I will pay your
love
legal
to
fees.
give you an honest journalistic review of a Desert Tech Wolverine. Unfortunately, it would
Hold on, I'm
appear
not talking
that
about
saying
Desert Tech.
negative
I
things
don't
about a
know
Desert
anything about
Tech
Desert
product.
Tech.
No. Stop doing this. You got to stop doing this.
Mm-mm.
It would appear that saying negative things about Desert Tech products or the company, I mean, saying negative things about the product is a reflection on the company. Therefore, they will be upset at you and they might sue you. This is a problem. So I don't really want to do that.
We're not talking about Desert Tech. I am telling you, Marlon Jonar will, on camera, on live stream, right? I will pay your legal fees if you get sued.
Clip it.
Clip it. Yeah. Chat, clip it, whatever, right? I'm giving you my word as a man. You will get a good lawyer. right? Like I'm not just like, oh, I'll find you something off a billboard, right? You pick the lawyer. How about that? Right? I will, if you get sued, I'll pay your fees.
Best case scenario though is that I review this and I'm like, look, it's a Holosun 510 and a weird body and it costs $400.
Just review it. Just review it. I don't fucking care what the outcome is, because I know that if you truly, like, if you do your hop shit and you're authentic, look forward to the review. But until you review it, I just don't want to hear you say it's a Holosun this, it's this and that, because you haven't touched it, right? And I don't like dealing with people that are.
I have put my eyeballs through it.
You put eyeballs through it, but I'm saying, like, you've really hung out with the damn
I thought
thing.
you said something else there.
So until you do that and you put it on camera and it's something that I can digest, because again, I don't know your everything you've handled, but until you do that, stop going on camera and saying it's this and that, until you like put out, like, organize your thoughts.
I have not said, I will say again, I have not made videos where I've said this is a bad product. I've made videos where I've said this company scares the fuck out of me. And that is a very honest and true thing.
I mean,
and when the subject of Desert Tech comes up next time, it's going to be the same thing. It's that, hey man, the product good or bad, I don't know. This company scares the fuck out of me, dude.
Okay. But
and there are other companies that are like that. There are a lot of companies out there where again, we brought up the Vortex and the Trigicon or whatever. Like, there are ways that a company can respond to these sorts of things. And it almost doesn't even matter how positive or negative this thing is, because most companies are like most viewers, and they're going to just essentially boil a review or a video down to either positive or negative. They're not going to look at the nuance of the thing. They're going to say, hey, this was a negative review, therefore you hate us, therefore you're going after us, therefore we have to go after you. That very well might be
but
a natural response for these companies.
Just
right?
do it. Just do it. You're talking yourself off the objective here. Just fucking send it. You have my support. Yeah, I'm a man of my word. Ask around. Like, your fees compensated. You pick the lawyer.
So can I just? I want to just ask a question here. So why is our job to, like, product improve, like, do the company's job basically? Why is it the reviewer's responsibility? Like, because it seems like you're putting the onus on the reviewers. Like, for instance, there's many products I don't want to review, or I'm not even interested in, but I think are kind of bad on the face value. Like, let's just say, for hypothetical, there's an optic out there that's $1,000 and looks worse than everything else. I'm like, I don't think that's a good buy, guys, just on paper. Like, that seems like really expensive for a generic optic. Well, that's just my take on it, right? I don't necessarily have a responsibility to go out and spend $1,000 to prove that it's, kind of mediocre. I just think that that's my face value take on the optic.
Okay, yeah, I can respond to that very easily. I think in Western society, and this isn't like a Middle East thing, this is more something I've kind of learned in Japan, is there's in our society, people are they follow a very two-dimensional kind of hierarchy. There's a lot of hierarchies. Like, you have a boss, and you don't talk to your boss's boss because that boss is above you, right? Like, in a workplace setting, so shit like that, right? But if you really look at, like, how effective an organization can be, if the feedback of and they talk about this in the military, they just don't really practice very well, of like, hey, the tactical level and the strategic level need to communicate, right? And if you're not familiar, that just means, like, hey, a few grunts in a squad, they need to be understood by the decision making of generals, because otherwise you get NGSWs, to kind of explain it to the gun guys, right? So my thing is, you play a huge part in dictating what the demand is for these optics, because this is something that I have a conversation with my boss at Ballistic Research and Machine when I'm doing suppressor work, is what are guys looking for when they go to the store and buy a suppressor? Is it about sound? Is it about signature reduction? Is it about full auto? He didn't know for a while about the FRTs. Now that's a game changer for suppressor companies, because people in full are getting a little sidetracked, but it'll make sense for you here in a minute. It may seem like I'm getting sidetracked. Is that for suppressor companies, you could kind of, and ours do very well full auto, but other suppressors out there, they the cheaper ones, right? They avoided the full auto thing because it's like most people aren't SOTs, they're not going to shoot this thing full auto. But now you have these things that are legal and they're force reset, so it doesn't it mimics, or however we want to say that, simulates high rates of fire, or it's just high rate of fire system, but it's not automatic, right?
Yeah, no, I have one. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And so that completely changes the suppressor world. And if companies are still thinking, oh yeah, none of them are SOTs, like, yeah, I mean, guys like you are the front line of bringing up the latest shit. Because the other thing too, and this is something that I think all three of us have, is the agility to maneuver against companies, in a sense, that have very again, that two-dimensional 9 to 5, you work when you're within these hours, this is your shit. Whereas, like, dude, any of us right now can pop off at 3 a.m. and just, hey, this is what a rifle needs to be. And, you know, a company may not have the decision space. Like, if we do this on a Friday, right? Today's Saturday. But let's say we came up with a fucking wild idea, and for the rest of the weekend, people are running off with that idea. And a company has to react to that on Monday as opposed to within seconds, right? So there is a lot of power that you have as reviewers. And that's where I'm saying it's not your necessarily an onus. Don't look at it as like, that's what I'm suggesting, is like, oh, this is this is what you have to do. But it's like, dude, you know, you're kidding yourself if you guys don't think you're kind of, I hate that term, this demand signal, but that's a good way of saying it, is like really offering that perspective. And
Yeah, no,
you know,
I completely understand that there's
yeah,
buying power and influence behind people's audience that they want to have access to. But my question kind of still stands: what puts the onus on us? And if this is too long of a like, is there something specific? I mean, because it's like, yeah, if you review this product, maybe it's really good for your audience. It's like, yeah, but I have 24 other reviews in the works right now. So how do I shove this one to the front solely because it benefits like one other guy over here? Like I get requests all the times to review different things, and I'm sure Hop gets 1,000 a day or whatnot. I just don't know
yeah.
why the onus is on us to do the beta testing and product improvement for the company.
I think in stride. I don't think it's an onus thing. I think it's just something, if you, as you notice, as you know, I- I'm not trying to insult you, but none of us are really experts here, right? We have a good idea of things, but we're not like
How
a
dare
true
you? I've been
subject matter.
deployed since Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. How dare you?
So none of us are truly subject matter experts, but we have a good taste, right? And again, not necessarily an onus, but that's something that just may, if it gets missed in whatever part of the cycle of production or design, um, it's good information to put out there, right? And other companies can look at that too, right? That's something you have to consider too, is that there's always someone watching, and they may have their own uh, productive returns from your comments that have something that they have no investment in, but there is an interest because it's information that's usable for whatever their projects might be. So I think that's something to consider, is that, like, by how should I say this? Again, not like, oh, I don't think anyone that I don't think it, because you know, Hop's like, I'm the consumer, and you're absolutely like right that no one as the consumer level should be beta testing. I think that's lame. Um, but if there's stuff that you notice that's maybe not, I mean, because there's a threshold, right? Like, I think we can all agree that the lead and steel optics are, they work, right? Like, they're not, there's not a dud rate on them. There might be like you had a bad experience, but um, as far as I know, there's not like a huge dud rate or anything like that. So at least, you know, that there might be stuff like you're talking about, like the night vision settings, where that's something that you can say, hey, like, this is, you know, because maybe 10 years ago people didn't use night vision, but now it's fucking a huge part of civilian firearms ownership. It seems what it seems like, feels like. So that's what I'm getting at, is like the kind of those smaller things that might be very, they're not minute, but they're valuable details that you provide that, you know, they can take that and react to it in any number of ways. But that's all I'm saying is just for Hop, test the optic. John, you tested it, you had your thoughts. And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed your video.
Well, I was actually going to be doing some Mimi stuff with Lead and Steel products in the future, but I do have to say that I do really appreciate you coming on here and giving your side. And as of this moment forward, I have no ill will towards Lead and Steel or Mod, and I'm gonna be outside of it. I'm not going to personally get back involved with it for any reason. And I do appreciate you coming on here and
Yeah.
yeah, because I get where you're coming at for the unity aspect, so to speak. But again, I just don't think that's unity with certain people is not my highest value, and I think I have a responsibility to my viewers above companies, right? Even if it's detrimental to myself at times, right? So yeah, man, I appreciate it. I don't know what Hop's going to do going forward, but for me, I'm stepping out unless Lead and Steel happens to do something so wacky that I can't help but
Okay.
respond in kind. But as far as me and Ahmad go, we're chill. Don't make a response video. Don't tweet out something stupid, and I'm not going to say anything. We're chill. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I in response to you, and then I'll let Hop. But I hope that because you mentioned your family, right? And that's serious. So hopefully those concerns are known to him, and that's something you guys can discuss and make peace on. Because yeah, I can't imagine what that's like. If someone
We
threatened
did.
my family,
I thought we did a year ago.
okay,
Because we hashed it out
sorry.
in person, But
Yeah, if that, yeah, okay, yeah, but that's all I meant to say is I hope that there's peace among men of faith, right? Yeah,
is Ahmad Christian?
I'm not going to discuss his religious
Well, I mean, if you say
beliefs.
men of faith, everybody believes in something.
Yeah, but we all believe the same God, right? I'm Christian. If he wants to,
Well, I mean, I don't want to go down the religion route.
yeah,
That's a whole.
yeah. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Is just
Yeah, I understand.
the
No, but I
values are
appreciate you
there,
coming on
right?
here and being a
You,
peacemaker.
you get what I'm saying about the values. Like they're there. They're the core values. Everything else is kind of those minute differences in religion that not relevant to the discussion. But no man's family should be insulted, and hopefully he sees also from this conversation, because I imagine he's watching or is going to see it tomorrow or something like that, that um some of the people from that the the left thing, right? Like that's not stuff that he's donated, but the group that posts that Lead and Steel advertisement, like there might be some concerns there that not
Well, yeah.
on
So as
brand, but
somebody like me
yeah.
with my personal values, when I see them advertising with these people, even if I knew nothing about the company, I'd be like, that's not my cup of tea, bro. I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and I understand that. I think if I hadn't met them, I probably would have a similar volition, right? Because
So what I
yeah,
never asked you this. What do you like about Lead and Steel and Ahmad? Like what's the positive case to be
about the
made?
company or the products or both.
Both. Yeah, because you met them, you talked to
Um,
them, you like them.
yeah,
That's why you're on here, because you want to see peace, right? So what's
yeah,
the I guess I never heard the positive case. If you want
yeah.
to speak
So
to that for a second.
so positive. I mean, my friendship with him. So for me, I grew up in Southern Orange County. Um, Towards like the beginning of my adult life, I started hanging out with like Persian dudes because I was like, they kind of seem similar. They like hearing songs like Beamer, Benz, or Bentley and street racing on the freeways. But I mean, they were cool, but they weren't really my people. So it's very refreshing to like talk with another member of like the diaspora from like, because Persian and people from Palestine, Lebanon, Israel is very different.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, when I was like right before the Marine Corps, I was just, I was always in my buddies, Camaros, Audis, whatever, fucking just shutting down the freeways, doing stupid shit, um, and listening to like rap music and just wearing ridiculous clothing, right? Um, but so there's a connection there, right? And then the company. Um, Again, I know a guy there, and we had a very like go heart to heart, because he's now a reservist and I got out of service. So there's like that veteran aspect and stuff that we did and didn't like about the Marine Corps that we connected on. So for
Right.
me, um, that's kind of where I'm like, yeah, these guys aren't the leftist weirdo things. I think that's uh just a bad rollout. Like, but that happened. We can't change that. I can't change that. I wish I would have known about them earlier, so you'd be like, no, don't fucking. Those dudes are fucking weird.
Mhm.
Now in terms of the products, dude, they hold up, man. I'm tough on my shit. If you didn't have that experience, then maybe I'm lucky, but I don't think I'm lucky as I have enough of these at this point that you know, um, but yeah, they hold up. And it's not like, um,
Right. So I've not
yeah,
disputed the fact that it's like a fine optic. I think that was the takeaway for my video is it's a mediocre product for a mediocre price,
yeah,
and that was Hop's original point as well. So I don't think we need to harp on that too much because I believe you.
yeah.
You use them, they've worked for you. I believe you.
Yeah, and then the price thing, that's just something I just, dude, prices are all over the place. I like when I look at like when the MR556A4 came out, I think the MSRP was probably like something, or at least the what it was selling for initially is about $1,000 more than what it's striking now, right? So like I think the whole price thing, that's something that it's whatever. You get it at the price you get it at. I try not to think too much about price. I mean, it does matter. Like, I don't have infinite money, but I
Mhm.
think when people are really like, oh, you can get the Holostone for this, and that's because like, because I just picked up a Holostone the other day, the ARO, it was like $160 or something, and it's fucking cool so far. And I'm like, dude, this is like dirt cheap, and this is good entry for anybody. Um, but Holostone makes a lot of fucking money, and they have a lot of distribution, so it's like maybe they can lose on this a little bit because they don't really have something like in mind for starting up a facility in the US, shit like that. So it's like that's where I was asking Hop about like the business sense kind of stuff is depending on what because business is maneuver warfare. So it's like if you can sell something cheap for a long time and just sustain that, then you're gonna fucking do pretty well because you know you're gonna you're going to knock everyone out of the park at some point, especially when you consider like the current economic situation for a lot of people. They don't have the money to spend on, like aim points. I like aim points, but they're expensive, right? That's fallen out of reach on a lot of people. But a few years ago, it was like, oh fuck it, I got this COVID check or whatever, right? I'll get a T2. I don't think people are really springing for those anymore. At least that's my read. And then the whole thing with like sales coupon codes and whatever influencer shit, that throws off the price for me. So again, for me, it's just all that to say, whatever it's the price I get it at, it's not that I don't care. It's valid, right? Like people, what they pay in their
Well, yeah,
hard-earned
no,
money.
I get it, man. You think that the
Yeah.
price is worth it for the performance you're getting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I paid like for the LP1, I paid $500. And I, no regret. I guess I paid high according to that advertisement.
Well, so originally on pre-order, so this is another thing that I don't like when companies do. They do the pre-order at 270, 280, which is I think what I bought mine when I waited for
Yeah.
like 6 months or something. But after they come in, then it's 349, and then like 6 months later it's 399, and then it's 489 or whatever it is. And then I think they're now back down to just under 400. So the price has fluctuated a lot, and that's supply chain issues or whatnot. But
Yeah.
also some of it has to do with you get that entry price, you get that market share, and then you jack up the price because now it's like, well, I've got a market now. So now I
Yeah. I,
no longer need to enter the market, right? And
yeah.
for
I
reference, I
hear
know
you there.
Ahmad did call me out in his video, not understanding that I do have an economics degree, so I do have some business sense.
Nice. And then, no, I'm not like washing that way. I'm just, yeah, no, I think we're on the same page there. Yeah, and the other thing too, like for me, and this is just something why I don't put stuff on sale. Is just it's once you go down that hole, that's the price people expect.
Yeah.
So for me, if I always keep one price, then it's as long as it's Like there's nothing that incurs an increase. Like if my supplies were jacked up, right? And I've actually stayed, I actually think I've lowered my prices considering, but in nylon, like fabric is up $10 per yard at the quantities that I buy from when I started. So people just, yeah, they may not understand that, and that's why I just don't like things like Reddit, where you have some guy that there's just like, that guy donated to whatever, and that's why I'm not buying it, or they do this, and I'm like, dude, fuck off, like you have no skin in the game. But and then for yeah, I think we were trying to navigate over to Hop.
Well, I kind
Yeah,
of we've been going at it for about 2 hours now. So if there's
yeah,
not something specific that you want to flush out while you got both of us on here, if
yeah.
not, we'll kind of just do closing statements. And again, like I said, I really appreciate you giving us your time tonight, sir.
Yeah, dude, thank you for hosting this discussion. And Hop, yeah, I think I'm just, John gave his like way forward. I mean, what's your take? Are you thinking you're gonna do a review? Are you gonna, maybe you explained the moderation thing. I just, amongst everyone, it's just like, if you see that shit, that's my opinion. Like, if it's not relevant, fucking shut it down. Like, hey, people's wives shouldn't be discussed, their sexual whatever, like all that shit. So that's just my take for everyone here, is like, if you see that shit, just shut it down. It's not, keep wives, children, all that stuff out if it's not talking about the product.
I
But
say
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
always interested in whatever new stuff people are producing. Companies that have burned me in the past, I'm still interested in what they're doing going forward. I also love the history of firearms and the firearms industry, so I always love to see, to me, a company completely fucking something up sucks in the moment, and you might get burned as a consumer, but 20 years later, like, what a great story. I love doing that. I love reading old magazines and being like, this new product got launched, turned out it sucked, and everybody was pissed off. And like, at the time, that must have sucked for everybody who put down good money to buy a bad gun. But 20 years later, we can read this magazine and be like, that's fucking awesome, bro. So if Lead and Steel continues to make new stuff, I will be interested in what they're continuing to make. We've talked about this a little bit in the very recent history. There are companies where you choose to support them despite having a distaste for the company itself, and there are companies that you choose to support because you like the company despite the fact that the business side is not very good. And we talked about this with T-Rex Arms. Their prices, they sold a lot of stuff, holsters aside, like they had a retail side, which is a lot of regular products, and they could never compete on price with like Primary Arms. And as you say, economics, Primary Arms is a massive company. They're like them and Midway USA are the Amazon of guns. So of course they can outcompete T-Rex Arms. But maybe you'd still buy a red dot from T-Rex Arms because you like that company. Yeah. And similarly, there are companies like Holosun where maybe you're like, I don't really like Chinese made red dots, but damn, these things work great and they're cheap as hell. So I'm gonna just hold my nose and buy them anyway, right? So it absolutely, and maybe it shouldn't, but it does matter how you feel about that company. And, I have a level of apathy about Lead and Steel's product. And I don't have that same apathy about Lead and Steel as a company. I am actively distrustful of them. They did something that I found incredibly distasteful to a friend of mine. There are other companies that have done that. And you don't have to come after me. You can come after a friend of mine, and I'm still going to be a little bit upset on their behalf. So, it's never over. It's not over for Lead and Steel. They could change their mind. They could, whatever. They could change their public perception. They could come out with a new product, and I'm like, damn. Even if I hated them, I'd be like, that product looks so fucking clutch, I have to try it. And I don't give a fuck what they've done in the past. Like that, all of this stuff could happen. So it's never over. It's never over. It's never definitive. It's always happening. And we are writing history right now. We're living through it. And 30 years from now, somebody who isn't me, but is somebody similar to me, is gonna pick up a fucking, not a magazine, whatever. I don't know. They're going to watch like a 15 to 25-year-old YouTube video, and they're going to be like, damn, the history of X company, maybe Lead and Steel, is so crazy. I can't believe that people used to hate them and now they love them. Like, I don't know. this stuff, it's never going to stop changing, and that's what I'm here
Yeah.
for. I'll chronicle this shit as long as I can, and
Yeah.
I like it. I like the history. I like the industry. I'm into it.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's I like how
Like,
you're
absolutely, I
thinking
appreciate
beyond.
you coming on, man. Like, it's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been good to talk to you, man, and to talk to you directly, not through my how you say, fucking like snatching YouTube comments thing. No,
You
it's
never
been
know. When you post a comment on YouTube, you never know if it's going to get deleted by YouTube, if it's going to get deleted by the person on the channel that you're on. You have no fucking clue, man.
yeah. I was going 50 Cent on Nova Group. That was funny. So, but I think that's past. Yeah, no. I mean, I appreciate you thinking beyond, and yeah, I mean, again, I can't like, I don't want to force you into excitement about their future, but I think they are a company to look out for, from the, the how do you say, the read I have, or the pulse, is that it's moving forward. It's just not as fast as people might seem, but yeah, and I think I'm, for as long as I'm friends, and collaborating with them, I think the professional user side is going to be honored more, and that's what I want to see more of, because not to beat or circle, whatever, return to what we were talking about, but it's like, dude, yeah, fucking cringe YouTubers suck, especially when
Right.
um they are in the position to touch this equipment, and then they just completely I won't even see read off a script. It's just like saying dumb shit, like the gun Vero one was like, oh, I like the Gen 1, or I don't like the Gen 1 because it only had like 75,000 hours, some weird shit. It's like, dude, you've never tested that, and that's so irrelevant. Like, if it lasts more than 4 days, you're fucking, you know you're good, in my opinion. But yeah, not to beat that up anymore, but that's just kind of.
The main thing, the biggest thing that a company can do to regain some lost market share is to make a compelling product at a good price. I mean, like, people will
Yeah.
forgive a whole lot of stuff if something comes out. I mean, again, another example we can pull from. We've talked about Ruger. We've talked about Smith & Wesson. We can talk about Springfield Armory. People will be like, fuck Springfield Armory. I hate that company, blah, 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 blah. And then the Kuna comes out and you're like, shit, that might be the best price that I can pay for a decent PCC. And all of a sudden, a bunch of people who were up until that point being like, fuck Springfield Armory, is like, well, I think I am going to buy a Kuna. Like, I mean, again, they didn't change much about the company itself. What they did was they released a product that people wanted at a price they were willing to pay, and a bunch of people held their nose and hit buy it now. Like, that will never stop happening. And ultimately, my nihilistic ass is just going to fucking roll with the punches.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man.
GB Guns is correct. The Kuna is literally a Strybog.
I love it. GB Guns has been the
but it's not ugly, and it's slightly cheaper.
The longest running Strybog defender. So I do love that he's in there. But hey, man, I really appreciate you having you on, dude. And you got me on Discord. So if you ever want to talk or hang out, just let me know, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it's not the last time, and I hope to run into you somewhere on a range or something. I don't know if I'll be at a show or anything like that, but that'd be really cool. Yeah, man. I hope we can, and definitely being able to shoot, right? I think that's the passion that should always be connected.
That's the fun part. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested in like piston firearm stuff, again, like Op Rod Kids, I think you
guns. God damn it.
Op Rod Kid is still, that link for his channel is still pinned in the chat. So if interested, go over there, give him a like, give him a subscribe, and check it out.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and Hop, hopefully I can change your mind on that. I think there's cool shit you can do with 416s too to get them right. So yeah,
I think he might actually be in the Discord in the airlock.
I'm in the purgatory.
Purgatory. So we'll just drag.
I'm just talking to myself. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
No, all good. Hey, gentlemen, have a great night, and I mean, I'm proud to be John's friend and a friend of this company, and I hope to show you guys the better, or how do you say, the professional side that they need to really have exposed, not the silly influencer
Well,
shit. So
I hope to see it. You know.
yeah. So stay tuned for that. And then again, if you are one of those users, and this is not something that they endorsed, but if you are like a professional user and you're like, yeah, I'm interested in that, like, hey, I'm on this department, SRT, whatever. I put you in touch because those are the feedbacks we need, not the fucking for the industry, not the weirdos that are just like they truck guns and all that dumb bullshit. And yeah, not to get all fired up about that, but you get my point. So and it's for those people, identify yourself, because there's other products I'd love to put them on too, like my own, right? Like I love seeing the men and women in the arena. Like that's who I give a shit about the most. Everything else is just yeah, not to start a whole nother episode here, but it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. So you have a great night, and
You too.
yeah, I
Thank you,
think
sir.
yeah, you got this.
All right, peace out, Ami. Oh. Well,
John, do you play
thank you.
cello?
Badly. I can play bass, so I can play it like a bass, but I don't
Okay.
actually play cello.
I
My
used
wife
to
plays
play
cello.
That was one of my instruments back when I was
Oh,
back
hell
when I
yeah.
was a young man, and my parents had more say in my life than I did.
Yeah, you get forced to play like I had to play like 9 different instruments as a kid. So yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on and giving us 2 hours of your time. That was very last minute. So I wasn't sure. He asked while we were in the private call beforehand, just talking, hanging out. I was like, oh, hey, is Hop going to join? I was like, I'm going to ask him. So, and then
Well,
what do you know? 2
literally
hours later.
don't have a job.
Wait, you mean you're like actually unemployed, or you're just talking about your other stuff?
I mean, yeah, YouTube's not a job, so I am unemployed. I'm one of those.
Well, but
lucky few.
you're a contractor, at least for TFB TV, as if you're still doing that.
I mean, I don't know if you've noticed the last time I posted a video there. Like, I'm mostly just unemployed at this point.
Yeah, well, that I didn't know if you were going to say that or not, but yeah, it's been a minute. You do shows, that's fun.
I think yeah, you know, I like being affiliated with TFB TV, but it is not my main gig. My main gig is unemployment.
Unemployment, Nova Group, dogs, cats. No. You're a benefactor for stray cats in your area.
That is also true. Yeah, they keep dying on me, unfortunately, but that happens.
It happens, you know. It's like a retirement home for cats. They just come to you to die.
Woof.
Well, there was a lot of support, so I'm going to read through all of them tonight. Hop, if you do not want to stick around, I am not going to keep you, considering that we already took you 2 hours longer than you were intending to go today.
I already told you I'm unemployed.
All right, then here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to thank you very much for hanging out, for watching. This was that gentleman initiated this a week ago. We had a little agreement that I wasn't going to talk about Lead and Steel in the interim. We didn't, and we're here now. Had a good conversation with him, a little bit rambly, as the chat likes to point out. But yeah, I wasn't expecting Hop to go full angry mode in the first couple minutes, but it was fun. I am gonna have to clip stuff out of the stream though, because there was too many good moments. Andy Cody, for
it doesn't
$2.
take a lot to set me up. I'm sorry, but it's all I do it all with love. Maybe.
Well, it had a wholesome ending. Andy Cody for $2 says 14 ailments, gang. Yeah, that was in reference to the guy who wished 14 ailments upon my family for reviewing Tavor, you know. Lovely gentleman. Definitely forgot his meds. He's probably in that old folks home. Mitchell Black 499 says, what a big nose Marlon has. Yeah, I mean, it's an aesthetic feature from that region, Lebanon. I pulled up so many different tabs during this. I didn't want to show this on screen, but when he said it was a cultural thing, I did bring up Lebanon's corruption index, and they're 154 out of 180, which is the wrong direction. So I didn't want to bring it up when he was talking about references and whatnot to, that's just a cultural thing. I was like, I don't know if that helps, considering it's from one of the most corrupt regions in the world, but Trigger Jump for $4.99 says, I prefer your lives smaller like this. 3 to 4 guys. The last one was hectic. Just saying, yeah, no, the last one I wanted to kill myself. So.
That was a fucking madhouse.
Did you even watch that? That was miserable. I'm deleting this. I'm deleting this as soon as I get offline, bro. And then Vintage comes in at the very end and talks War Thunder for 30 minutes straight. And I'm just in the corner like, I gotta just start kicking people. When I get bored, I know the audience is bored, so I gotta kick people.
When I finally sell out, it will be to War Thunder. They've offered, and I'm like, I actually have 1,000 hours into that game, so maybe that's the one.
I know now that we're done, we're just gonna get like 20 people in here. We're just gonna chat. But there were people here the entire time. Art Vandalay for 199 says, "What's everyone's breakfast status?" Well, I woke up at noon and I had a chicken wrap, which was really good.
I had an English muffin. I don't know. Some of you might be familiar with my personal trajectory regarding English muffins. There are several brands that I alternate between. Right now, I'm on the Thomas ones, the ones that come in like the little cardboard tray with the plastic. They're not the best. But I was doing the Oro wheat ones, and they're inconsistent. And I was doing the Franz ones. They're consistent but low quality.
Yep.
English muffins are a passion of mine. You wouldn't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I used to eat English muffins like every day. Because as a kid, that would be like all we had was that or some generic cereal that I didn't like. So I was like, well, having an English muffin this morning.
When they're good, they're great, but they're inconsistent. It's an inconsistent breakfast.
Gopnik wants in. I don't know if you want to come in here. Everybody's going to flood in here just because Hop's on the stream. They want the Hop hotness. Chuck McGill for 69 for 499 says, Hop, my heart goes out to you. Love the kitty cat content. Hopefully I'll drink 271,000 beers for you tonight. And all right, Chuck McGill, thank you very much for that. Yeah, you had the kitty catception video out today.
That's the worst video I've ever made in my life.
Every time you upload it, I just look at the thumbnail and I'm like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about this week, but okay. Mitchell Black 49 says, Hop, where is Asfax? Is he safe? Is he all right?
He's fine. Sure he has a real job. He works for YouTube. He makes videos.
You make videos for multiple channels, bro. I guess we all do, but yeah. That video did pop off on the Nova group, though. Resonated with people. Good timing.
Shockingly, yeah. It's weird. Turns out that clickbait is powerful stuff. I guess we should do it more often.
Hey, Tuss the Third for 109 says, Lead and Steel is such a horrible brand name. Yeah, there was better programming years ago. They called it Blood and no, we can't. That one's taken. We can't use that one. But thank you, Tusk. No
Blood and Sand? Was that like fucking shitty Gladiator TV show?
Blood and Sand. Yeah, no. What is it?
Showtime. It was a softcore porno. Let's be honest. That's what that fucking channel makes. But
Skinamax, as they used to call it.
That's the one.
Yeah. No one you know of for 6 months, which is a long time to be subscribed to this channel. Hop, I love your glamour shots. No Richard tonight? No. Richard had mouth surgery by the Black Queen Austin, so that he's recovering from his oral examination. No, but he did have like a really awful oral surgery that he had to go through, so he's out for a little while. Mitchell Black 409 says Marlon mad AF. No, he wasn't. He was very amicable the entire time. I didn't get necessarily a bad vibe from him, but there were just arguments that just didn't work, right? And I think that is hard to separate yourself from your friends, and especially if you're a defensive person. Like some people are more defensive of their friends than other people are. So if they see them get dragged online, they're probably bringing in some heat, on the inside at least. So you loved his arguments.
If you fuck with Brad Specs, I'll go to war.
Yep. Zephon for 2 says, Happy Pride Month, Hop. It's almost over. He almost made it through. Not with his eyebrows intact, but actually, if we combined the 3 of our faces together, we would actually have full facial features. So
Jesus.
Tar K for 5 says, Sauce please on the sea shanty a couple streams back. Cannot find that awesome version. That is unfortunately the horrors of man-made material unfortunately have an upside at times. That is a machine created song based off of the David Coffin performance of Roll the Old Chariot that he did live. So you feed that into a computer and it spits something out the other side, and it's awesome and terrifying at the same time. So thank you, Tarkin. And I will send that to you because I saw you sent me an email. No one you know for $2 says, I love when our fellow lesbian is angry. Has Better Way 2A ever come at you for a sponsorship? That's bad phrasing, but
I don't think I've ever talked to them. I have a video in mind which obliquely references them in a way that I think will become controversial, even though it's really just a cool sounding title. But we'll see how that shakes out.
So Bardic Psycho for 5 says, why the hell is there an Afghan refugee and an East Coast lesbian having an argument over something I don't care about? Weird stream.
Excuse you, I am very West Coast. That is hurtful.
Weird stream is about as good as it gets around here. So thank you very much, Bardic Psycho, for the 5. Trigger Jump 499 says, I think their sales are tanked and not just want to say something, stir the pot, because I was going to buy one. It's cheap, Romeo 8T. There were words said in there in a specific order, but not much sense came out the other side. I don't know how...
the little square brackets OBJ. Like every time somebody from an iPhone texts me, I get these OBJs, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, brother. It's just object.
It was probably like a paddle emoji or something for stirring the
Yeah,
pot. But
it's probably what's the next after pregnant man emoji? It's probably the next level of that. And Android hasn't caught up to it yet.
I don't know if they just gave up on some of their marketing, but they haven't posted on their Twitter since September 18th of 2023. I don't know if that's in protest of a certain event happening.
What about their Blue Sky account?
I'm not checking up. Not happening, sir. Couldn't tell you that. And they do post this girl. I didn't know who this was. This the Gunfire. I had no idea who this was, but they do a lot of collaboration posts with this person. So I'd never heard that reference before.
I get compared to that person a lot. And there was a period of time where I think every time they posted, I would get tagged in it. And I was like, what's the gimmick? And I get it. She has short hair and I have short hair. So the comparisons are pretty obvious.
The face actually might be kind of similar. You know what? There might actually be something there. Interesting. I'm going to check your guys' genetic history. Thank you very much, Trigger Jump, for the $4.99. No one you know of for $2 says, hola, Richard. Well, Richard he's in the chat, I think. I think he's recovering still. Man, oral surgery is one of those things you never want it to happen ever. And then you're recovering for like 3 days and it hurts to drink. It hurts to move. It hurts to do anything. You can't talk. It's the worst. Zephon for 2 says, no one cares about the Turkey people distinction. Yeah, that was like an aside. That wasn't like that wasn't an argument. It was just I think he's from Turkey. And we didn't even get into the whole what's the name of the company? Because I had this pulled up as well. Because you have 3E,
the
right?
3EIR gimmick.
Yeah. The 3E company, where's their products? Gosh dang it. Where am I? I don't care about that. Production quality? No. See, I'm not smart enough to actually... here we go. Night vision, laser, day vision, combat optical sights. Nope. Red reflex sight? Yes. CRS Gen 2. That's the one. So they have a Gen 1 and a Gen 2. And I actually did some fishing on this because I was, I guess you could say, pretending to be a buyer of this. And I just kind of happened to ask their buyer about the relationship between lead and steel and 3E, and I got a kind of due to confidentiality agreements and protocols, I cannot disclose specific customers or regions, but we do offer ODM services. So I don't know what that means, but yeah, I did some fishing. I didn't get anything concrete on that.
It sounds like OEM services with a minor typo.
Yeah, well, and the fact that they both came out at the same time, and who sold what design from who, and they said their design was ground up, but then it obviously can't because this company has the same thing. So who's lying? I don't know. I don't care. It's just funny. Sorry, I already got that one. Thank you, Zephon. Todd and Talks for 2 says, dude is same logic and vocabulary as Colin Noir. Yes. Colin Noir has a magical ability to talk for 35 minutes and say absolutely nothing and backtrack within the same sentence. Very painful to watch. I get Marlon's points more at what he is trying to get at. I just don't necessarily think they hold a lot of water from my perspective. Right. Thank you, Tom Dogs, for the 2. 6 hour 499 says, someone tell Hops Flannel wearing boyfriend he's in for a long pounding tonight. Bone emoji, bone emoji, bone emoji. I don't know what you mean by that, Mr. Sig.
Yeah, it's plaid, not flannel.
We're going plaid. Oh, did you see that their 93-year-old Mel Brooks is making a sequel to Spaceballs for some reason?
Yeah, I've got some friends who are big fans of his, so I'm going to be hearing all about that.
Yeah, probably not in a positive context. You know, the sad thing is he's probably going to die before it actually comes out because he's already 93 and it's not scheduled to come out for like 3 years. So, Yeah. Art Vandalay from 499 says, "Excuse me, waiter. I ordered roasted Turk. I didn't order a shill burger with a side of word salad." Well, you know what? In this restaurant, we don't even give out refunds, buddy. I'm actually going to sue you for saying that. That was a bad review, bro. Josh for 5 says, "Hop, what is going on with your eyebrows, man? Are you under a lot of stress? It's giving me some Kabuki Mask vibes." Also, Marlon, I am a lesbian as well. Oh, nice, Josh.
I am under a lot of stress. Also, I'm very small and I have no money.
Aw. You're no, we won't talk about that. We'll move on. Chromosome Hoarder 69 for 499 says, "Hop is also Lebanese, pretty trendy in the Pacific Northwest." Nah, Hop is Nephilim. We've talked about this.
I miss my my 1998 Subaru Forester. Best car I ever owned. Never should have sold it.
6 Hour for 109 says, "See, something in common. Hop is Lebanese also." Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of these ones.
Yeah,
we get
right.
it, guys. We
Settle
get it.
in.
All right.
Settle in, ladies and gentlemen.
Mitchell Black for 199 says, "Oh, brother, this guy stinks." Dude, I need to get that sounder. And I should just play that every time a guest is talking too long in a certain direction. That would be good. Tuss the Third for 199 says, my uncle never lets me hold the popcorn bucket. Bro, your uncle would have a lot in common with some of the people who work for a Better Way 2A. So I'm just saying, it runs in the family or something. Thank you, sir. Chromosome Hoarder 69 for 109 says, "Marlon, go wash your hair, please." No, his hair was beautiful, curly, long hair. It's very fine.
Sumptuous.
Yeah. Something I can never have. Todd Dogs for 2 says, "Come on, John. This guy is all over the place and drunk."
I'm not that drunk.
Well, I think he was referencing Marlon, but I don't think
Oh,
Marlon
okay.
was drunk. He was drinking, but I think that's just how some people talk. And, you know, or it's some people are really uncomfortable talking. And so they just continue on. And it's the Office meme where it's like, sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know where I'm going to end up. I just kind of go with the flow. Sometimes that just happens. But thank you, Todd and Dogs, for the 2. 6 Hour for 199 says, "Is Marlon actually Jack Doherty with a beard?" There's a little bit of similarity there, I suppose. Grows a better beard than I can, though. Chromosome Hoarder 69 for 199 says, "Early life check on this guy, Lebanese. Lebanese. He's from that area of the world, which I'm sure has not been the most stable over the last few decades due to America." It is funny that World War III kicked off like, a couple hours, or not even a couple hours, like 30 minutes before the stream started. And then Trump throws up the flag. Like, "Let's go, boys," for what nobody asked for. It's like, hey, can we not?
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I don't know. Buddy X Friend 199 says, "Hop, say the N-word." What N-word do you think he's referencing?
Yeah, you're gonna have to specify, my friend.
Yeah, there's way too many. If you tried to go through the dictionary, that would take another 2 hours. 6 Hour for 499 says, "SV89 says Marlon is gay, even though they came from the same sand dune." Ouch, that's mean. SV89 is a very nice man, and Marlon as well. Lost Arrow for 199 says, "June is Marlon's month." It's mean, guys. Focus Trip's wife for 499. Hello, Anna. Is Marlon wearing aluminum foil because he's getting roasted? Damn. I see where she gets her sense of humor. Thank you. No one you know for $2. No one you know for $2 says, "I could take a dump in a box and mark it guarantee." Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I don't know how you feel about this, but warranty is like nice. But if I ever get to the point where I'm having to use the warranty, I feel like there's a slight problem.
Yeah, I've had that perspective of like, how we all know that Vortex has a good warranty. It's because we've all used it like multiple fucking times. And on the one hand, it's nice that they have it, but on the other hand, it's like, that's weird. How many times have I used? Right. Well, I was going to say, how many times have you infringed on warranty? More than once.
It's like if you go through Palmetto State Armory's their like review section, they'll rave about like the warranty or whatever it might be.
The warranty they haven't used, but they read about it and they're like, I can't wait to warranty this.
Or even if it's like, man, you get people defending them in comment section saying, "Listen, guys, I've tried their warranty 10 times on my rifle and it's been great every time." And it's like, maybe you shouldn't have to use their warranty 10 times, right? At some point, it's irrelevant how good it is if they have it longer than you do. But thank you, no one you know of. Mitchell Black for 499 says, heck off, Trench. Go fight for Israel. No, Trench is a staunch Palestinian brother. I will have you know, you will not defame Trench Grenade. Let me pull up his statement, okay? Let me see here.
I didn't know he had a statement.
The man has many statements. No, he just uploaded a state of the world, like as we were going live. But let me see here. This is his statement here. This one. Israel is not our ally. This is a trap. Do not be fooled. I would rather sit by and watch the nation of Israel burn to the ground than lose a single soldier, sailor, airman, or marine. Yikes. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad take, but you know, I would rather not be involved in foreign wars. I think that's my generic take on the situation. Zephon for 2 says, kick the big milker Samasti. Oh, man. Ouch, Zephon. Tuss the third for 199 says, what is LS's value proposition? Okay, when they were doing their marketing, it was like, we are a most durable, fully featured, American-made product at $280, which was what the introductory price was. And like, you can see why somebody might look at that price and be like, oh, wow, that's everything I could ever hope and dream for, right? And then it's like, well, who actually made it? Who actually made the design? Is it ever going to be American made? And now it's $400. Oh, now it's $500. So maybe there was a good value proposition at some point in there, which I think, you know, the initial marketing hype for the product was there. But now, like, I don't know. And personally, I wouldn't want to support them, right? You know? Always room to improve. Randy Reviews It for 5 says, I think you can get free product and remain objective, but most people are trying to turn YouTube into a career, so they can't remain objective. Trench. Hey, that's mean. Trench calls out lots of companies.
He might have been responding to something French said.
No, they were going back. I was watching it.
Okay,
I feel bad because half the time I get distracted by chat and I'm just reading people arguing about something that's not pertaining to the subject. Although in this conversation, it worked well because I could check back in every couple minutes and it would still be going on and on. But yeah, no, I think you can get free product and remain objective, but it's especially when a product goes really south. And then you're like, oh, but I like the guy or whatnot. So it's difficult. There's a narrow way through, right? It's difficult to have industry relations, get free product, and still remain objective. I think it's very difficult. And I think Brass was in chat earlier, and he said something about it doesn't even matter if it's conscious, because most of the bias is subconscious, right? So it's like you'll do it without even realizing that you're not objective anymore, right?
Yeah. There's also the problem of just like treating criticisms of a product as if they're criticisms of the people that work for the company, you know? And it's like, I mean, from my perspective, I'm happy to criticize a product that Trijicon makes. And in my mind, I'm not criticizing the company Trijicon or the people who work for Trijicon, but it will be perceived as that. And there are a lot of people who are probably a little bit more emotionally, you know, intelligent than I am, who are going to see it that way. And they're like, well, I can't say this product is bad because that reflects on the company and the people that work there. Luckily, I'm just completely, you know, oblivious of that shit. So I get away with it. Psychologically speaking, I get away with it. Like, you know, professionally, no, I do not.
Yeah, GB Gun says, I hate the term free product because every box at the door costs hours of effort and also hundreds of dollars in research to produce content on. I agree, but I've had this argument with Deskpop as well when they, you know, because I think it still matters. Because sure, I put in way too much money into all of my reviews, right? Especially now that I only do review like every couple weeks or something like that, so I can spend a lot more time with each individual product as I'm kind of building up. So yeah, no, I never make money on that, but I still think it biases people, bro. Like you'll see people get something like super cheap for free, like a $30 red dot, and you'll see them just shill like the title of the video, like we looked at yesterday, was like the greatest dot of all time, better than Trijicon, puts Trijicon to shame or something like that. So people get biased very easily. So I get that it's not free, I get that it costs stuff, but it's a balancing act for everybody. 6 Hour for $4.99. Hop is on his third beer of the night. His internet is bad because we just stealthed and researched sites near his house. I hope not. Sig has got some.
Oh,
some furious
third
talk.
beer, you sweet summer child.
Well, on stream. Unless there's like a pile of them around you that have just been working their way down. The range for $10 says Hop has pedigree, damn it. So does John Focus. Yeah, John Focus. I don't know who Marlon is, but glad to hear his side too. God bless everyone. Watch your six guys. It could get frosty there after tonight's bombing. Yeah, I mean, Iran has said so many things over the last, 8-9 days or however long it's been, that you basically shouldn't believe anything that they say. I mean, will something kick off? Will there be a false flag? Will there be a real terrorist attack? Who knows? But for the average American in average places, it'll probably be okay. Don't panic until you need to. Thank you for the $10, sir. Subarctic Psycho for 5 says, all this talk about Chinesium optics is gay. They're all the same models with different brands stamped on them. Get yourself a Leopold, sonny. Yeah, no. So that is something that I think about a lot, because it's so boring to talk about a red dot now that's not interesting in some way. Making a video on something that is essentially the same as this thing, that's essentially the same as this thing, that does the same thing that this thing does for the exact same price or within a couple dollars of each other is like mind-numbing to talk about. It's lost its appeal. Fresh Peanut Shade for 10. Oops, I could pull it up. Says, hello, it is Zhang, your friendly read and steal OEM. Would you like to reconsider your opinion on your optics? I hope our gift has entered your account smoothly. Sure, round eye dog. Man, you had me right to the end of Fresh Peanut Shade. Great helicopter rides, though. That's very funny. Schmoovery, that's a good one. Thank you. Andrew Bashan for $9.99 says, I have never been shot. I can guarantee that it's not a pleasant experience. I have been sued. Not a pleasant experience. Several thousands getting spent on legal counsel over a BS suit. Yeah, no, when people get sued for like $17 million over the holidays, and it just ruins your time with your family and makes you spend all this money out of pocket, it's not fun, right? Because, I imagine if I had taken it to the next level and actually gotten legal counsel or something at that point, that would have cost me at least a few $1,000s out of pocket. And it sucks for everybody. So, yeah, getting sued, not fun. I think this was during one of your rage moments. GB Guns for $2 says, to get Hop a Snickers bar. No, I think that was Hop. That's the problem. You think it's going to change him, and then nothing happens,
The Snickers just restores my energy. And you don't want that.
Oh, yeah. It's like when you take a boss down to no health and then you do the thing that's supposed to kill it, like with an electricity charge or something, then it goes back up to health for its second mode, and you're like, oh, damn it.
Yep.
Chromosome Hoarder for $1.99 says, can we sue Marlon for smelling? I'm sure he smells fine, Chromosome Hoarder. All I do is overpenetrate. Great name. For $1.99 says, as Hop's voice raises, so does my desk I'm sitting at. Yikes!
Wow.
Mister. All I do is overpenetrate. Great name, though. Mitchell Black for $4.99 says, which way, U.S. military veteran? Shill Chinese optics or sell coffee? Well, to be fair, they're Japanese optics. Okay, so third branch much. Lost Air for $4.99.
Cigar of the Month Club. What do you think about that?
I don't know, bro. I who just did a cigar something or other? Was it GBRS Group? Did they start doing their own cigar? Somebody
they
did.
might have. There was an Onward Research cigar.
No, it was yes.
And I was like, I don't know. Maybe if Grantham was a famous cigar aficionado, like he'd always been talking about him in his videos, I'd be like, oh, interesting, tie-in. Otherwise, it just comes out of left field. Yeah. I don't know. I've smoked like 3 cigars in my life, and every time I do it, I'm like, this is awful. This never ends. This is like a cigarette that you can't stop smoking for 2.5 hours. What a nightmare.
See, at least we know that you enjoy the venture surplus stuff that is in your ads, because you use it all the time and you eat it on camera. So there's got to be some sick pleasure in there for you.
I am very sad.
We actually talked about that before, and I was like, oh no, Hop eats MREs for fun. He's like, oh, it's probably not good for your bowels.
In the next, I don't know if it's tomorrow or the day after, but there is going to be a video where you're going to watch us eat like A lot of MREs for fun.
Ugh.
A whole bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, very exciting. Lost Arrow for 49 says Marlon for sure was one of the Disney Juice. No, he was far too young for that. Lost Arrow, be nice. Zephon for 2 says the Sand People forever pulling the victim card. No, it wasn't that Sand People. It was a different Sand People. See, those Sand People were fighting the other Sand People who had fought off the other Sand People before them, right? So this is much more complicated than you think it is. Fresh Peanut Shade for 5 says Better Way 2A has a coupon for a free heli tour. I bet they do. I bet they would have a wonderful time. Thank you very much, Fresh Peanut Shade, for the $5. Mitchell Black for 199 says every time Hop yells, I wince in fear and pee a little. There are two very different responses people are having in chat right now. One of excitement and the other of fear.
I've been trying not to yell as much as I used to. It's not good for me and it's not productive. So,
yeah. Thank you very much, Mitchell Black, for the 199. Art Vanderley for 199 says that lag is as authentic as LP1 reviews. No, I think he was doing it on his phone on Firefox. So I think that is just a recipe for disaster for doing StreamYards, which is not a perfect streaming service to begin with. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt of that. I have seen people use like lag as an excuse to like drop out of a call or something. They're like, "What? Can you hear me? Oh, I'm gone now." But no, I don't think that was what was happening. Tusk the Third 49 says duty grade Slumdogs. Yeah, I don't know what duty grade means.
I don't know what mil-spec means at this point, honestly.
Yeah. What is a mil-spec sig spear? Like, how could you tell?
The thing, yeah. Which mil? Who's spec? I don't know. Mil-spec can mean a lot of shit. I've seen some pictures from third world militaries where they're doing stuff that I would never consider, like the backwards mounted hammer from the whatever Philippines or some shit. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. But then again, I'm not a mil.
Or you see people that have never like used an AR, or they've just seen like things attached to a quad rail, and so they have just like optics and lights and lasers in places where they could not actually be used or in any sort of benefit to the rifle, but they're like, people put them on, so it's like, here we go. Or more likely, they just got handed that rifle from some other retard.
Yeah, I always wonder about that. It's like, it's like if someone has never been properly educated on like what a scope should look like, you could probably hand them an LPVO mounted to a front rail, and they'd look through it and they'd be like, "Wow, this is terrible," but I guess that's what scopes are like. Like, I've never used them before, so maybe this is it. Like, this is as good as scopes get.
That's their only reference point with it. It's like, it's always supposed to be this way.
I think that happens. I honestly think it does.
Yeah. Brass says, I also wince and pee myself when he yells at me. Well, that would fit the mantra of a lesbian relationship, okay? I've seen the stats, and they are staggering.
So you don't know, like, how easy it is to get the pee to fall out of that man. Like, he can go to the bathroom in about 40 seconds, and that's including 35 seconds of going to and from the bathroom. The pee just... It's insane. Not that you needed to know this, but now you know this.
I just need that clip of a, you don't know how fast it is to get that man's pee out of his body or something like that. That's perfect.
There is a leaderboard.
We've tracked. Yeah, Reddit attracts a certain type of person, commies. Yeah, what starts and ends on Reddit is probably not the greatest place. I don't know if anybody caught my Mark Fry joke when he was talking about Reddit, okay, but I thought it was funny. Because see, these are things we don't need to know. We don't need to know, Brass, that you have a P leaderboard.
It's called the Peter board.
6 hour 499 says, ask this guy how much dollars he has invested in the company. I mean, he said it right. He asked for a bunch of product at $400 a pop. So you do the math there, right? Plus he's friends with them and knows them and likes them and whatnot. So I think, yeah, it's the financial and friendship. I think that's the big two, especially if there's some sort of business tie. I don't know if there's a business tie, but yeah. Thank you, Sig, for the 499. Europa Chronicles for 499 says poor selection of friends and business associates so shows poor judgment and or character. Yeah, but people do young and dumb things as well. I think there's always room to mature, which is why I said in the beginning when we were talking about a mod, like if he just did, stupid things when he was young or whatnot, that's normal. Many people have a crazy phase in their life. So I think it's not necessarily fair to hold like somebody's behavior from like 10 years ago against them. But when you see that behavior continue to last month, it's like, well, shows a pattern. But thank you, Europa Chronicles. 6 Hour for 199 says Lucas has entered the discussion. Slap. Yeah, see, I didn't know if I was going to interject during that section because he started to talk about how Lucas was like bringing people together and to not gatekeep. And I was like, no, Lucas does gatekeep. And Lucas is a divisive character. So I don't know if that was the example that you wanted to go for there. But thank you, 6 Hour. Sabardic Psycho.
That's a whole 6 hour stream there talking about the subject of gatekeeping, two-way gatekeeping.
Well, or just gatekeeping in general. Maybe we should have gate kept all of our franchises and things that we enjoyed. Sabardic Psycho for 2 says Marlon, more like, that's not very nice, Sabardic Psycho. Living up to the name, though. 6 Hour for 49 says Marlon is just here to distract so his people can retaliate for tonight's stealth runs. Go look out your windows. Red Dawn Wolverines. Yeah, Iran can't reach Israel with planes, so I'm not too worried about it right now. But thank you, sir. Focus Strip's wife for 189 says, "Does it smell like Updog in here? What's Updog?
Not much, dog. What's up with you?
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Focus Strip's wife.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the only person here, so. 6 Hour for 189 says mud testing. I bet he's mud tested it. Oh, we're talking about in range, yeah. Let me pour mud on this optic. Does it still work? Yes, it does. Riveting content, sir. Fier Grisa Ost-Drauka. Did I say something incredibly racist? Let me type this in.
Yeah, you might have got baited.
It's okay, YouTube Autobot. It's given to Richard Rawls and prophecy. A bringer of death. The bringer of death. So actually, no, it's not super racist.
Kind of
Sword
cool.
of Truth. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, that's a cool name. For $5 says I did not know what that history about Ahmad. Yikes! That's all I needed to know about him. Ellen Des, baby, whatever that means. Loathe and seethe, lie and steal, whatever you want to say, bro. Focus Strip's wife 189 says I don't care. Hop. Yeah, some great moments in there. Thank you very much, Mrs. Focus Strip. Mrs. Trip. Well, I should say Solo Gorda for $4.99 says if the product sucks, then it sucks. Don't try to tell Hop to go against telling the truth. If it's a good product, you will say it. Hop is a real one. Yeah, so I do have to defend you a little bit there because when he said that you're known for basically your quips and that's like your thing, I was like, no, he's known for being honest, but he does it in a funny, dry humor sense where you also get the quips, but it's not just about the quips, right? People wouldn't care if it was just quippy shillery.
Yeah, well, I still have it's probably printed out and framed in my apartment somewhere, but the comment from Russell Fagan where he's sort of like ironic coming from a Zoomer who loves to shit on stuff for clout. It's like, I don't know. I love that. It's like, I wish I was that young. I wish I was that cool, but alas.
Well, that's the thing now. If you're not Generation X, you're a Zoomer, right?
Well, that's actually a pretty honest way to view things. Anybody who's older than you, Boomer. Anybody who's younger than you,
right.
Zoomer. That's it. That's how generations work from now on. We're in the internet age.
No one you know for $5 says, sorry, dude, not all of us have FU money to throw at a product from a company we don't know. Well, that why should the consumer take a risk on a product, right? You have to sell it to me. It's not my duty to go out and spend money to test your product, right? There has to be something interesting there, some value proposition. So, yeah, I never really get those arguments. Well, you have to test it. It's like, no, I don't. I do not need to test the SIG 211 GTO for $2,500 to know that it's a comped 2011. Not going to happen. Also, I don't really want to support SIG, so there's that too. Gray Hardgrave for $199 says nothing, but I'm sure people responded to him with a certain set of letters. Thank you very much for the $199, sir. TF6 for $199 says this muffa spews nothing but burger paragraphs. Or sorry, spews nothing burger paragraphs.
How many fucking tubes are on that guy's head?
Not enough. We need more tubes.
That's an Octonauts base. That's like a Tarkov thing right there.
No, the new ones are like different, aren't they? They're like really short and stubby now, right?
Oh, it's unsettling.
Smokebang for 189 says Marlon eats corn the king way and moans. What is that?
That's autocorrect right there.
I
That's
don't know what
not
the
what he meant
king
to
way
type.
is, but yeah, I think you meant to say the long way. You got it the long way. Thank you, Smokebang, for the 199. Gekadile for $5 says deport Marlon, get Stephen Miller on the phone, and get him out of here. We're full. Get out. No, I mean he immigrated here. I think when he was a kid, like 20 plus years ago. So, and he served like a decade in the military too. So I don't know if that counts for anything in the chat, but. Gep Gekadile again for $2 says, have we talked about how the 3EE OS CRS Gen 1 is the LP1? I mean, it's pretty damn close. I mean, if you want to say that, I mean, that's the Gen 2, the Gen 1 reflex sight CRS Gen 1. I mean, they're pretty much the same damn thing. It's like, I don't know, bro. No, still cracked up.
You should be
damn close.
more careful with your belongings. Oh, dang it. Your resale value.
Bro, it was already broken, and I can't send it in for warranty work because they track that serial number.
Shit.
I thought about giving it away to somebody and then having them do it, but then I was like, oh, that feels kind of scummy to screw. Just one more punch while they're already down. Yeah. 6 out for $9.99 says, so Americans aren't generous. US. How much foreign aid has flowed our way from your direction? Valid point there, sir. Valid point. But I mean, when it comes to corruption, I think there's a lot of corruption in both cases. Okay. But yeah, no, the Lebanese corruption index is pretty damn high. Too damn high, some might say. So it's a cultural thing, though, bro. You wouldn't get it. I don't know. Cultural arguments that doesn't flow. You're here, though, right? Christian Best for $2 says, the most words to say absolutely nothing. People have a tendency to do that. Solo Gorda for $4.99 says, generosity is selling products well under their true value, not overpriced. I mean, yeah. It's complicated. I get it. People get into the market and they're trying to get a market share, so they set up an attractive price. But then after they have that market share, well, it's like, well, now it's time to cash in. So now we're raising prices to an insane amount. All I do is overpenetrate for $4.99 says, only hole this broccoli head slime weasel pickle lipped fabric smuggler is involved with his leaded steel's beehole. Damn, son. Wow. All I do is overpenetrate is going hard. Wow. I'm going to write that down. Broccoli head slime weasel pickle lipped fabric smuggler. Bro, that is amazing. I think that might be the first time those words have ever been slapped together. Madden Williams for $4.99 says, hey, Marlon, how would you feel if you didn't eat breakfast this morning? Classic question. Classic. I'm actually hungry right now, damn it. GB Guns for nothing says, some companies are just not used to that. I've had companies act weird when I tell them I won't accept money. Yeah, and that was kind of the vibe that I got. Like, he was like, well, what do I do now? In that conversation with Ahmad. So, yeah, and I felt weird about it because I'm like, why are you offering me all this stuff in the middle of my review? I was like, why are we talking? But I'm also socially inept, so there's that aspect to it as well. So as Hop knows, there's that aspect of it. Focus, get to Desert Tech on next stream to answer for their crimes. Listen, what do they call themselves? The Council? Ooh. Is that what it is? No, sorry. The Order. The Order is what the family is involved in. It is
that's a cartoon supervillain bullshit right there.
The Utah is like Christian heretic gangsters. That's what I'm gonna call it.
I will say, I recently picked up a vintage 1996 production Car K40, and it is one of the handsomest, most comfortable pistols that I've ever put my hands on. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's something to all this cult business, because damn, do they make a mighty fine, classy handgun. It's worth considering.
Man, I wish that those are kind of expensive too. least the new models.
Well, I've been camping gun broker for a long time to find one that
Okay.
did not cost $1,100. And
Yeah, 'cause that's
no,
what I was
no
thinking.
fucking way am I paying $1,100 for a 20-year-old car K40.
It's
But you know,
6
like
round 40 Smith &
350,
Wesson. Yeah. There you go.
$350 for a, you know, an unfired stainless car K40 with night sights that stopped being night sights about 15 years ago.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice,
I'll
yeah.
do it. I'll bite the bullet on that one.
6 hour 49 says again, Marlon, how much do you have invested in this company? A little bit. Time, energy, friendship, that sort of thing. You know, it's funny you mentioned that, dude. One of the first Garantham videos that kind of blew up, I think, was his original MDRX. Was that the Desert Tech bullpup back in the day, like 8 years ago at this point? Was it the MDRX, or it was something like that, where it had the ambi eject stuff, 308, and he was having all sorts of problems with it in that video, if I remember correctly. That was a long time ago. That was classic pre-Micah, pre-Charlie, pre-Onward, all that stuff.
I mostly remember like old Grantham being, you know, plate carrier setup, assault pack setup, battle belt setup, you know,
Yeah.
all those things. I mean, those were those, from my perspective, like the huge videos.
Yeah. Well, they were, dare I say, like ahead of their time, I suppose, because that's almost like the meta.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mitchell Black49 says, dude gives off slimy used car salesman vibes. I mean,
That's
you know.
racist.
Wait, what race did you think of? Gray Hard Gray for 499 says it's the best $270 optic. Yeah, it was $270. Now it's $400. And when it's not $400, well, actually, what is the technical price right now? It is $589, or sorry, it is $649 on sale for $374. So I don't know what that $649.
Oh,
that's
God.
That's another scummy thing I hate, where it's like,
I hate that shit.
$1,000 marked off 90%. It's like, no, you're just.
That's what like really pisses me off about almost every like thing that YouTube people generally take ad spots for, right? Where it's sort of like, hey, this fucking, you know, whatever, Factor Meals or whatever, where they're like,
yeah,
if you click our link, you'll save 85% off your first month. And I'm like, how does a company sell it product, you know, for 85% off? Clearly,
well, dude,
one of these numbers is bullshit, right? Like, this is fucking fake as hell. Like, there's just no way that a product can go on sale for that much and actually cost anything close to what the MSRP is. It drives me fucking insane. Where's the money going? Where is it going? I don't know.
Well, with VPNs, it's even worse because there's no actual physical product. It's just like server space in Serbia, right? And they're like, listen, if you sign up with us,
you're going up layers now.
You get
it's Amazon AWS.
You're
just renting space off of Amazon. Shut up.
A year free, 90% off, plus 3 extra months with my code TRIP, NordVPN or something like that. And we're still going to sell you.
You're saying this protects me from all scams.
Nope, you're still dumb.
Oh,
so you're still going to follow from.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and it's like, so that masks all my traffic. It's like, no, they just don't know where you're going. They can still tell what is coming, or that stuff is coming in and out, just not necessarily what exactly it is.
If a coupon code is above about 20%, I'm like, how do you make your money?
Yeah.
You know,
it's like when a company has like a regular like 50% off sale, like, you know, Tacticon or some of these other guys. I'm like,
what does it really cost?
Yeah, well, it's like I know you're making money at 50% off. So people that buy it at full price are just retarded. Like, that's what you're saying.
I'll go ahead and shill for my sponsor here. If you use my link, you get 10% off Venture Surplus. But you know how else you can get 10% off Venture Surplus? You go to their website and you use their Hi, I'm a new customer thing. It's the same amount. Like, that is a very normal discount. You don't even have to go through me. You can just get it for being a customer.
And here's another thing. It's a good price at its price, right? Regardless of that 10% off coupon. Now, that 10% off coupon is obviously enticing, right? That's why they give it. But if it's a good price, generally, and then it could be even better.
What would 80% off of a halal MRE even be? Like, that was cost $2.99 or something like that. And it turns out they're surprisingly delicious. So
you have all the homeless people eating MREs because they're cheap. They just got stacks of MREs in their cart. You go to the homeless man because they're your pizza MRE dealers.
Yeah, you're like, hey man, can I get that halal MRE? And he's like, I paid $1.15 for this. And you're like, damn.
Matt Williams 109 says, bro, who freaking cares? It's a mid-optic. Do better. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just not an exciting product. And it was their response to everything that that did them in, essentially. It wasn't like the products was fine. Mediocre. 50 TNCSA for $5 says, you keep saying in the military. Which military? No, he was in the U.S. military, good sir. Mitchell Black for 189 says, John, ask him if Sharia law should be implemented. No, he's a professing Christian. So, and we talked about it behind the scenes a little bit more. So I kind of get where he's coming from, but so I don't think he would want Sharia law to be implemented, good sir. Todd and Dogs for 2 says, ask him what he thinks about black people. The same thing everybody thinks about black people. They're wonderful. Nobody would have a dissenting opinion upon that. That is the normative opinion. 6 Hour for 199 says, I had to go take a Marlin. Did I miss anything? Yeah. A sidetrack or a side trip, you say. Focus Trip Swipe for 199. So says, who ordered the poo-poo platter? That's a great movie. Bug's Life does not get enough recognition. Good movie. That's actually the excuse for having kids, is just so I can watch old movies again and be like, hey, kids, you're going to watch this with me now. And they're like, Dad, this is lame. We want to watch something else. I'm like, nope.
Have you showed them Ants yet? Ants with a Z?
Not yet. No. I don't.
You got to be a little of that. That one I might have watched too early in my life.
Well, I mean, Bruce was watching me. I was playing Doom 2016 today. Bruce was watching me play Doom. That's pretty intense. So
that's a yeah.
Mitchell Black for 199 says, oh hell nah. Gotta watch my use of Ebonics. All right, bro. Chromosome Hoarder 69 for 499 says, System of a Down syndrome. 6 Hour for 499 says, shutting down the freeways. I knew he was a terrorist. No, not like that. Although that is the stereotype, is like Persians racing out like Audis and GTRs on the freeway. It's like, yep, checks out. Rich Arabs, lots of money. Even though that's not technically Arab. Mitchell Black for 199 says, what the Sigma? Oh, what the Sigma? The SpongeBob edits of that are my favorite. 6 Hour for 499 says, this guy sucks at PR so bad, we wouldn't even hire him. Ouch, bro. You know, I do want to know if, because James posted on Twitter that he was going to ask like the top most liked questions on his Twitter poll. So I wonder if he did ask them about that, because I think that was one of the top 10 is like, hey, did you guys end up firing your whole PR team or something like that? I want to see that question asked live. All right. Mitchell Black for 199 says, I was hanging out with these Persian guys. Is all I needed to hear. Lots of stereotyping happening in the chat. 6 Hour for 499 says, fabric prices. He's literally a rug merchant. Damn. Hook for $2 says, thoughts on ranch on pizza. I like ranch. Ranch on pizza, Parmesan ranch on pizza, garlic ranch on pizza. It's all good.
No objection.
Chicken bacon ranch pizza. Heck yeah. I had a toasted chicken bacon ranch wrap today, or a sandwich today. It's fantastic. Thank you, Hook. I'm sorry, but Chromosome Hoarder 69 for 499 says, not a single instance of nimming. All stream. Blessed. True. Nimming is
that is a rare treat for us, I think.
Nimming is a bannable offense, so please do not engage in such behavior. Smoke Bang for 189 says, this dude buys his gun based on mouthfeel. What's their faces? Springfield has got to bring back the lip zone. They got the grip zone. They need to branch out the lip zone. Sponsored by Better Way 28. Now, moving on, Logan Sucks at Shooting for 499 says, I'm going to have to rewatch this since I just caught the tail end. 22nd out of 105 overall today, shooting limited division. Hell yeah, that's awesome. He's
nice.
He's in the same category as I am, where we have to shoot not real handguns.
Just work on your spelling next, and you'll be basically there.
Logan couldn't imagine spelling correctly. I don't know if you know Logan, but he can't visualize things in his head. So
that's my favorite thing to do. Just picture stuff. Just rotate it. Just see what it looks like from other ends. I love it.
Right. Barrel of Mercy for $5 says absolutely nothing, but I'm sure he was rewarded in the chat. Sean Patton for 189 says Hop is the best. Can confirm.
No. You are.
Mentally dysfunctional Corgi for 199 says Hop looks like a Canadian I know.
And then he posted a fucking iPhone exclusive emoji that says object. And I just, now I don't,
It's something.
now I just.
Oh, here we go. So Vintage Welfare for $2, my favorite account, says the N-word is Nubian Queen. So can you say that N-word? Nubian Queen? Nubian. Mm-hmm.
That's 2 words.
Charles,
man, you guys suck ass at English. No offense.
Yeah, well,
it's my favorite language.
I allegedly speak English. Charles Chuck for $2 says, Hoppin' John, time to play Mech Warrior 5. Yeah, I hope you guys were dry firing or playing video games during this. You got to have something to do. I need to download Clans. Give it a try. It's been years.
Yeah, I've heard it's good. I'll try it. I will give it a shot.
Andrew Basham 49 says bad gatekeeping led to the fall of Constantinople. Never forget. Also relevant because Turkey. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
It's a very Age of Wonders 2 coded comment. Appreciate it. Lock that shit.
Seriously, bro, you didn't pay the one guy who made cannons in your area, so the Turkey guys, the Ottomans, sniped them from you. On gatekeeping, Jesus is a gate, dude, a universalist. No, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, good sir. Thank you very much for the $199, Daniel. Yeah, Andrew Bashan for $499 says the implication that I need time with a product to make a reasonable judgment about it annoys me. I don't need to buy a Galil to know that I will hate it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that you can dislike about something without ever touching the product. Like if you tell me, hey, John, there's this new AR-10, you have to try it. It's 13.5 pounds, and it only comes in a 20-inch 350 SOCOM, whatever chambering. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to enjoy that. I don't need to actually shoot the thing or buy the thing to know that I'm not going to enjoy that, right? But yeah. And also there's the other side of that where people are like, well, just because, you haven't tried it, therefore you can't talk about it, or you can't say anything. It's like, I can't say anything definitive on it, sure, but I can give you my opinion on it. It's fair game, sir. We are on the internet here. Facts and logic has gone out the window. Get it out for $5 says, I remember meeting L&S CEO at SHOT Show and told him I had jet imported the 3E Turcan, and he asked me to bring it to him so he could take it apart. Yeah, no, I remember talking to Mod and him saying that they were bringing a 1-4 to market. So that's just funny little coinky dinks that happened there, good sir. Andy Cody for $2 says, how would he feel if he hadn't eaten breakfast? Hungry. Just like me. I got to figure out what I'm eating after this.
What kind of person would skip breakfast?
Most important meal of the day. 50 TN CSA for $2 says, for Hop, 20 gauge SBS 590. Cool or dumb?
Damn, that's incredibly dumb. I don't think I'm also a little concerned that SBSs are a bad idea because you're taking a projectile with about as much energy as 32 ACP and you're making it less accurate and less powerful. And I don't know. I don't know, man. Bad idea.
Yeah,
don't do it.
I kind of like it because I don't like shotguns. So if we're doing a short-barreled shotgun, if we do something that just has like no recoil and it's just a dumb clay gun, like it could be fun.
I say, as far as like fun goes, if you just treat firearms as a fun thing to do, suppressed handguns are awesome. Rimfire is awesome. 20 gauge semi-automatics to shoot clays with, all that stuff is awesome. The practical
I don't know about
that
suppressed
shit,
handgun. I think suppressed
it's fun. Everybody who shoots a suppressed handgun like giggles, but then everybody who like actually shoots a suppressed handgun is like, wow, this is horrible. This is a terrible experience.
Yeah,
but for a newbie, you're like, oh my god, that was amazing.
Yeah, it's so much better. Well, that's the thing. But a newbie is going to be excited if you put a Keltec P11 in their hands.
That's also true. And then they're gonna fire one round. The muzzle brake is gonna spread fire everywhere, and then they're gonna turn 180 and be like, that was sick. And you're like, oh my god.
No.
So you got to be careful with those people. But no, I don't know, man. SBS is.
Yeah, so I would say that's in the dumb but fun category. Although, bro, if that actually does pass, we are going to see some of the most retarded SBSs ever made and imported. Maybe not imported, but at least made.
I got to shoot a Genesis, the Gen 12.
Like,
man, this thing shoots awesome. And then we backed it off to 15 yards, and we could get one pellet per shot on fucking IPSC size.
Oh yeah,
targets. It's like, oh,
really?
Okay, so this is legitimately a non-starter. Cool, good to know. Shoots.
Was it
awesome,
one of the tiny ones?
Yeah, the
The
SBR
8-inch ones?
with the
Yeah,
Hux
yeah.
can and you're like,
Ooh,
this shoots better than any shotgun I've ever shot. Also, can't hit an obese man target
yeah.
from 15 yards. Worrisome.
There's a reason that they use these things to take off door hinges at point blank range.
It was probably really good at that.
Yeah. A lot of doors. Charles Chuck for $2 says, have either of y'all played Broken Arrow? No, sir, I have not. Huh?
Nope.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, that is it for tonight. Nearly 3 hours of unadulterated word salad nonsense coming out of all of our mouths at the exact same time. But yeah, Hop, you got anything you wanna say before we hop on out of here?
Not a damn thing.
Hell yeah. GB Gun says, Hop, you're welcome to try my 5-inch Gen 12, 5 inches. Some would say that's average. Gen 12 at patterns great on a torso from 15 yards. Man, it sounds like fun, but that's just got to be so dumb. 5-inch 12-gauge shotgun. Unbelievable.
I want to chrono that. Just see what kind of terminal effectiveness you're
Well,
actually getting.
Yeah, you can chrono pellets. Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, out of that, again, the spread is going to
Okay.
be a little bit insane. I'm worried you would lose your chrono unless you use one of those Garmin's.
You know, now that I think about that, a slug out of that has to have about as much energy as like a 45 ACP because it's barely moving out of that thing.
It's just, toss a glow stick at a guy.
Yeah. Same effect. All right, gentlemen. I want to thank everybody for watching, hanging out. Thank you to Marlon for coming on and doing the defensory and his points that he brought up and having a good conversation with him. And to all of you guys out there in the chat, thank you very much for your support. We love and appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one. God bless.